Chapter 2024. But why are we doing this at the back of the mountain? TSK, you have no idea. Our Alliance city's back of the mountain is filled with spiritual herbs. With the help of these spiritual herbs, we can cultivate faster. Anyway, this woman can't escape, so we don't have to worry. That's true. I don't think she has the guts to jump off the cliff. After all, there's a rather powerful spiritual beast suppressed at the bottom of the cliff. Jumping down is equivalent to suicide. As the saying goes, a bad life is better than a good death. No matter what, it's better than death. The youths were chatting with one another and laughing out loud. None of them noticed Lian Yuesheng's darkening expression. Lian Yuesheng suddenly smiled. Her smile was different from the previous cold one. It was so beautiful that it moved people's hearts. Do you guys want to dual cultivate with me that much? Her voice was soft and tender, making one's bones go numb. Why don't you go first? Suddenly, Lian Yuesheng pointed at a skinny man with a glint in her eyes. The man did not expect the beauty to take a liking to him at first glance. He was delighted and took off his clothes. Laughing, he pounced at Lian Yuesheng. The others were not in a hurry. After all, they had their share of the beauty. That was enough. The skinny man was completely unguarded against a beauty like Lian Yuesheng. Just as he pounced in front of her, he saw a dagger suddenly appear in the beauty's hand and hold it against his neck. Lian Yuesheng's smile disappeared completely. Her expression turned cold as she shouted sternly, "Don't move. Otherwise, I'll kill him." Everyone was stunned at first, then they sneered. Do you think we'll let you go by capturing him? What a joke. Miss Lang will never let you leave. Do you not even have the ability to walk out of this back of the mountain? Lian Yuesheng narrowed her eyes slightly. I'm not trying to escape. I just don't want you guys to get close to me. As she said that, Lang Xinyue's body retreated toward the cliff. The group of people laughed out loud. Young lady, it's better if you don't resist. You can't threaten us. If we kill him, we'll have one less competitor. Why should we save? Just as the young man finished his sentence, he suddenly realized Lian Yuesheng's intention. He was so scared that his soul almost left his body. Quick, stop her. This woman wants to jump off the cliff. However, it was too late. Lian Yuesheng, who was carrying the thin man, leaned back and fell towards the cliff. At the same time, she let go of her hand, allowing the terrified man to fall off the cliff first. She also saw him fall into a bloody mouth. That's fine too. It was better to be a broken piece of jade than an intact tile. Even if she was swallowed by that ferocious beast, it was better than being humiliated by those people. Lian Yuesheng closed her eyes and her lips curled into a faint smile. At this moment, she felt an arm wrap around her waist, and her falling body also stopped at this moment. Her body trembled, and she opened her eyes slightly. What came into view was the side of a beautiful face. The woman's facial features were exquisite, and there was a domineering aura between her brows. She was dressed in a snow-white dress, and she looked like a celestial who had descended to the mortal world. That hand had even dragged her out of the abyss of evil. Even Yuesheng's heart couldn't help but tremble at this moment. Her eyes that were originally filled with despair were now tinged with a hint of hope. Why was she here? Did he come to save her? Why? They had never met before. Chapter 2025. While Lian Yuesheng was having mixed feelings, Yun Luofeng's body had already landed firmly on the ground. Her eyes swept across the crowd of geniuses with a piercingly cold gaze, sending chills down everyone's spines. So the Freedom Alliance isn't that great after all. She let go of the woman in her arms and walked towards the prodigies with light steps. Who are you? How dare you barge into our Freedom Alliance? The prodigies were shocked, but they still pulled out their weapons and pointed at Yun Luofeng. I'm here to kill scum like you. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile, and he waved his hand, causing a gust of wind to spring up. Before the group of people could even react, they felt their bodies being struck, and were sent flying backward. They landed right in front of the elder who brought Yun Luofeng. Elder, you're finally here. The prodigy was overjoyed, but before he could speak, he was interrupted by the elder's cold voice. We were tricked by Lang Xinhua. The previous leader has already passed his seal to Yu Qing and left behind a will. Even what he said before was fabricated by the previous leader. This lady is Yu Qing's daughter. The other person who was almost humiliated by you guys is the princess of Jinyang country. The expressions of the geniuses changed drastically, and they even forgot to beg for mercy for a moment. Good luck to all of you. The elder sighed helplessly. He glanced at the dumbfounded prodigies one last time before heading down the mountain. Lian Yueshing stared at the woman in white in front of her. She had mixed feelings. The person she saw as her family pushed her out personally. Instead, it was a stranger she had never met before, extended a helping hand to her. How could she not be disappointed? Lady. The group of geniuses finally understood from the elder's words. They no longer had the arrogance they had before, and knelt on the ground with a thud. Please let us go. We had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and mistakenly believed Lang Xinyue's slanderous words. Please forgive us this time, we won't dare to do it again. He kowtowed so hard that a bruise appeared on his forehead, but he didn't seem to feel it. Not long after, blood flowed from his forehead. However, he could only feel the fear in his heart. He could not feel the pain on his forehead at all. You all listened to Lang Xinyue's slander, which is why you committed such a mistake. Is that right? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, and a sinister light flashed through them. The man hurriedly nodded. Yes, that's right. Yun Luofeng smiled. Unfortunately, in my opinion, you are just being controlled by your own desires. Even without Lang Xinyue, you would still have captured Jin Yang the moment you discovered his existence. Just to satisfy your desires. As Yun Luofeng walked closer, all of them felt a wave of pressure. They raised their heads in fear, and what entered their eyes was the woman's beautiful face. So. Yun Luofeng stopped and said coldly, are you going to jump down yourself, or should I throw them down? She pointed to the cliff, her voice cold. Run. The prodigies gasped and looked at each other. They then turned around and fled down the mountain. However, before they could take more than a few steps, a large hand grabbed them by the lapels of their clothes and threw them down the cliff. Chapter 2026. The beast at the bottom of the cliff opened its bloody mouth and caught the food falling from the sky. However, the food did not satisfy its appetite, so it began to move again. In no time, Yun had caught all the geniuses who were trying to escape. And these geniuses had become the beast's food. Thank you. Under the azure sky, Lian Yueshing looked at the beautiful woman in front of her and thanked her sincerely. You don't have to thank me. I'm just returning your favor. Yun Luofeng slowly turned around and said. Lian Yueshing was stunned. Returning my favor? When did Yun Luofeng ever owe her a favor? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng glanced at Lian Yueshing and said in a casual tone, previously, in Nemesis Forest, you reminded me. Lian Yueshing was stunned. Back then in Nemesis Forest, she had only done so out of admiration for Yun Luofeng. She wanted to have a battle with her in the future, so she had reminded her. More importantly, as a genius, she naturally cherished geniuses. She did not want such a genius to die in Nemesis Forest. But, however, this reminder had saved her life. Lian Yueshing's heart was filled with complicated feelings. The human heart was actually very simple. It was enough to exchange a heart for a heart. No matter what, I still want to thank you. If Yun Luofeng did not save her, perhaps she would have become the beast's food. She would always remember this kindness. Jinyang country. Qing Feiyang always felt guilty and a little uneasy, but he could not tell why. At this moment, a eunuch hurried over. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. People from the 3 countries are here. They say they want to settle the score with your Majesty. What? Qing Feiyang stood up in shock. His expression was full of anxiety. Quick, go to the Freedom Alliance and ask for help. We are now in the same boat. The Freedom Alliance will not leave us in the lurch. you don't have to go to the Freedom Alliance. Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. Qing Feiyang's body trembled. When he turned his head, he saw a group of people walking in. Those people were Qi Su from Drifting Wind Country, Qi Ling from Tian Qi Country, General Yi Lin from Purple Moon Country, and Jin Yang. Jin Yang, how did you? Qing Feiyang's expression changed slightly, and his voice was filled with disbelief. Back then, you handed me over to Lang Xingyue for your own selfish reasons. However, you didn't expect that the Freedom Alliance's alliance master had already died long ago. Lang Xinyue's corpse is also nowhere to be found. Lian Yuesheng's tone was filled with hatred and her eyes were filled with killing intent. She would never forget that it was this man who became her mother's accomplice. She would never forgive her for the rest of her life. You said Miss Lang is dead? Qing Feiyang stumbled and almost fell to the ground. His face was filled with shock. Impossible. The Freedom Alliance is so powerful. How could they die? The Freedom Alliance is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, Lang Xinyue is a traitor of the Freedom Alliance, and the alliance leader doesn't live up to his name, Lian Yuesheng said coldly. The true person in charge of the Freedom Alliance should be the old alliance leader's disciple, Yun Yuqing, who is also Yun Luofeng's mother. Lang Xinyue and Lord Olay were traitors? The true leader of the alliance was Yun Yuqing, but when did Yun Yuqing become Yun Luofeng's mother? Chapter 2027. However, Lian Yuesheng's next words caused Qing Feiyang's heart to tremble. Endless fear filled his heart. Do you remember the man who appeared in Wind Cloud City that day? Yun Luofeng's husband? That man has already reached the level of a Sir God. Do you think the Freedom Alliance is a match for him? Yun Luofeng also has 2 Sir Gods under him. Boom! These words were like a bolt from the blue. Qing Feiyang was dumbfounded. Only now did he realize how big of a mistake he had made. Golden Sun, come with them to Golden Sun Country, don't call me Golden Sun. Lian Yuesheng gritted her teeth. I am no longer the Golden Sun Princess. My name is Lian Yuesheng. I have nothing to do with you anymore. From the moment she had decided to cut off her hair, it was clear that they were no longer father and daughter. She only had hatred for him. Everyone, although I was once the princess of Golden Sun Country, I have sworn to leave. As for this guy, I don't care how you deal with him. Her expression was cold and her tone was resolute. This time, I am returning to Golden Sun Country to take away my mother's belongings. I will not plead on his behalf. As a traitor of the 4 countries, Qing Feiyang's fate was obvious. Golden Sun. Qing Feiyang clenched his fists. Even if father is in the wrong, he is still your biological father. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for treating me like this? Lian Yuesheng, who was about to leave, paused for a moment. With her back facing Qing Feiyang, she said in her usual indifferent voice, I've already died once. If it weren't for Miss Yun, I'm afraid I would have become food for the beasts. Do you think there is anything to be afraid of for someone who has already died once? Lian Yuesheng sneered. After she finished speaking, she did not turn back. Instead, she walked in the direction of the harem. This time, after she left, she would never return to this sad place. As for Golden Sun Country, she believed that Qi Ling would be able to handle it well. Meanwhile, Drifting Wind Country, Qi family. Qi Ling tugged at Bai Ling and Yun Luofeng's sleeves reluctantly. She looked pitiful. Aunt Yun, master, are you really leaving? Can you take Ling, with you? Bai Ling and Yun Luofeng looked at each other and comforted the tearful little girl in front of them. Xiao Ling, Aunt Yun and your master will only be leaving for a short period of time. In the future, they will return to visit you. Furthermore, Aunt Yun has been away from my family for a very long time. It is time for me to return to visit them. Hearing Bai Ling's words, no matter how reluctant Qi Ling was, she still let go. Then, you have to come back to see me. All right. Yun Luofeng rubbed Qi Ling's head and turned to look at Bai Ling and Yun Xiao. Mother, Yun Xiao, let's go first. When we return this time, We will definitely give the old man 2 surprises. A few days ago, Ji Jiutian had sent a message saying that he had found a way to leave the windy continent and had asked them to hurry over to meet him. Now that she was finally able to leave the wind cloud continent and reunite with her family, Bai Ling was unwilling to stay for a few more days. She did not even wait for Qi Su to return before hurriedly pulling Yun Luofeng away. 2 surprises? Bai Ling was stunned. Isn't there only one? Yun Luofeng grunted. I still have a surprise in my stomach. There was another surprise in his stomach? What did that mean? Chapter 2028. Bai Ling was stunned for a moment before she regained her senses. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao, who was at the side, had already rushed in front of Yun Luofeng and fiercely pulled the girl into his arms. Feng, you're saying that you're pregnant? His expression was very excited, a complete change from his usual cold and expressionless face. Indeed, any man who encountered such a thing would not be able to remain calm. Under their excited gazes, Yun Luofeng nodded. I felt a little uncomfortable yesterday, so I took my pulse and found that I'm pregnant. Looks like Zhang Ji isn't so unreliable. Yun Xiao excitedly hugged Yun Luofeng, her voice somewhat incoherent. I'm going to be a father. Feng, I'm going to be a father. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. She and Yun Xiao had known each other for many years, but this was their first child. Honestly, she was as excited as Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao suddenly thought of something and her palm gently brushed across the woman's lower abdomen. Her tone suddenly became severe. You better be a little more obedient in your mother's womb. If you dare to cause any trouble or cause your mother to suffer even the slightest bit of pain, after you're born, I will not spare you. Looking at Yun Xiao's serious face, Bai Ling laughed. He won't understand what you're saying. No, he can understand. Yun Xiao answered very seriously. This answer stunned Bai Ling. Why? I don't know, I feel. He felt that this child would understand what he was saying. Protect your mother well, don't let her suffer any harm. Yun Xiao lowered his head and warned, this is the task I'm giving you. Yun Luofeng's gaze was fixed on Yun Xiao, her heart feeling warm. Even Yun Xiao's serious expression made her feel incomparably handsome. It's getting late, let's go. Yun Luofeng looked at Qi Ling, who looked aggrieved, and said, when Qi Su comes back, remember to tell him that I'm taking my mother home to visit my family. If he wants to find me in the future, he can go to the 7 continents to find me. I'll also tell you the location of the cloudy cloud continent. Don't forget to tell Qi Su. Then, Yun Luofeng gave a few more instructions, and when Qi Ling was done, she left with Qi Su. At that moment, Yun Luofeng still didn't know that a huge storm was waiting for her on the 7 continents. Once she returned and found out everything, her rage would be enough to set the entire mainland ablaze. The 7 continents. East Continent Lord Residence. Inside the conference room, everyone was arguing incessantly. The voices of the elders were very loud, spittle flying everywhere. Hong Wan sat in the middle of the group and listened to their angry shouts. Finally, she could not take it anymore. With a bang, she slammed her palm on the table. Letting the people from the Yun family stay was my decision. If there are any consequences, I will bear it alone. You don't have to worry. Young miss, it doesn't matter that you are on good terms with Yun Luofeng. We won't stop you. However, Yun Luofeng killed a member of the spirit god continent's Qin family. Now that the Qin family has come knocking on our door, how can we protect her family? Furthermore, the Qin family has also said that as long as we hand over the Yun family, they won't make things difficult for the rest of the mainland. Hong Wan clenched her fists tightly. Not long after Yun Luofeng left, the Qin family of spirit god continents suddenly appeared. Chapter 2029. Both the Holy Maiden tribe and the Jun family were seriously injured by the Qin family. Grandpa Jun's life was in danger. That was why she made the decision to bring the Yun family to the East Continent Prefecture. Because the East Continent Prefecture was the only place that could protect the Yun family. Actually, I've been preparing for this. Hong Wan stood up slowly. I've left a way out. Father, I beg you, when the Qin family attacks, take the Yun family with you and leave. Luan, what are you trying to do? Hong Ling's face darkened. I won't let you take the risk. I've never begged you for anything. Besides, the Yun family's pride will not allow me to sacrifice myself for them. When the time comes, I'll have to trouble you to come up with a lie. Don't let them appear. Luan, Grandpa Jun is recuperating at the Holy Maiden tribe. Those who are on good terms with Yun Luofeng are also seriously injured. So, we are the only ones who can protect the Yun family now. If Yun Luofeng had not left behind many elixirs, Grandpa Jun and the others would have died from their injuries. Hong Ling looked at Hong Luan's determined face. Luan, let me stay. When the time comes, you can take them away. Father, are you as strong as me now? Hong Luan looked back at Hong Ling. On this continent, I'm the only one who broke through to become a deity. Hong Ling's heart trembled. Her daughter was growing too fast. Even he couldn't compare to her. So, I'm the only one who can stop them for now. She swore to keep her promise to Yun Luofeng even if she had to die. There must be another way. There are still 3 days until the deadline given by the Qin family. Within these 3 days, we will definitely find a way. Luan, Hong Ling walked towards Hong Luan anxiously. I won't let you face danger. He only had one daughter. How could he bear to let her suffer any harm? If something happened to his daughter, how could he continue living? Hong Luan shook her head. Her domineering phoenix eyes became even more determined. 3 days. Time passed in a flash. In the blink of an eye, it was the deadline given by the Qin family. For the past 3 days, the people of the East Continent Prefecture had not slept a wink. They were quietly waiting for today's appearance. No matter how big the 7 continents were, it would still be easy for the Qin clan to find someone. Therefore, no matter where the Yun family hid, it would not be able to escape the eyes of the Qin family. The only thing they could do was to delay for a day. As long as they could delay until Yun Luofeng and Yun Shao returned, all the dangers would be resolved. He's here. Hong Luan's eyebrows twitched as she slowly stood up from her seat. She was dressed in red, looking as enchanting as fire, but she was also filled with courage and determination. Father, take the Yun family and leave immediately. I'll hold them off. Luan, Hong Ling rushed forward and grabbed Hong Luan's hand. You can't go. Hong Luan's body stiffened. She pushed Hong Ling's hand away and lowered her eyes slightly. Please. With that, she walked out of the door with firm steps. Manor Lord. All the elders looked unhappy. If it wasn't for the Yun family, such a thing wouldn't have happened. Go. Hong Ling looked sorrowfully at Hong Luan's departing figure. I can't let my daughter go back on her words. Protect the Yun family and leave immediately. Chapter 2030. After saying this, Hong Ling hurriedly walked in the direction of the Yun family, in the courtyard. Old Master Yun was bored to death. Yun Xingya and Ning Xian were by his side. Little Ruoxue was sitting obediently on the ground, her big innocent eyes looking very innocent. The group of young geniuses that Yun Luofeng had subdued for Ruoxue were also sitting cross-legged on the ground to cultivate. Jun Fengling and Yi Jingshan were not here. After Yun Luofeng left, the two of them also left the 7 continents and went to some unknown place to train. Yi Xia and Yi Jun, the twins, followed Old Master Yi back to the Wuhui continent. Yi Shima and Yi Qi also went out to cultivate, so these people were not here. At this moment, Old Master Yun saw Hong Ling and the others walking over quickly. His eyes lit up and he said in a complaining tone, "You're finally here." Hearing his complaining voice, the group of people from the East Continent Prefecture did not look too good. It was Hong Ling who said in a calm voice, "Old Master Yun, come with me. We are leaving this place now." Leave? Everyone was stunned. Yun Xingya frowned. Manor Lord, can you tell us what happened? Why don't you let us go to the Jun family and leave this place? In reality, the people of the Yun family still didn't know what had happened. After they sent the Yi family's old man back, they planned to come to the 7 continents. Who knew that when they arrived at the Jun family, they would find a mess? Before they could ask what had happened, Hong Wan hurriedly took them away. After all, the Qin family only knew that the person who killed Qin Luo was Yun Luofeng, and that Yun Luofeng was a member of the Yun family. As for the matter of the Long Shao continent and the Wuhui continent, they did not investigate much. The only thing they knew was that the Jun family was also related to Yun Luofeng. However, Yun Luofeng's surname was Yun. Therefore, the people they were looking for were the Yun family members. However, they did not intend to let others go easily, so they seriously injured Old Master Jun and those who were on good terms with Yun Luofeng. Originally, they thought that these people would definitely not survive. Who knew that Yun Luofeng would give them so many elixirs before he left, saving their lives? Old Master Yun, don't ask anymore. Hurry up and leave this place with us, Hong Ling said anxiously with a slight frown. Old Master Yun also sensed that something was wrong. His face no longer showed the grumbling he had earlier. Manor Lord, even if something happened, you should at least tell us the specifics. Right now, we know nothing. How can we leave with you? By the way, where is Miss Hong Wan? Ning Xian seemed to have noticed something and asked, why did you ask us to follow you, but Miss Hong Wan isn't here? Manor Lord, what exactly happened? Once he heard Hong Wan's name, Hong Ling's grief finally flowed out uncontrollably. His heart was filled with deep pain. My daughter has already gone to stop the enemies for you. Now, you must follow me. I can't let my daughter's sacrifice be in vain. So what if Hong Wan became a divine spirit? That group of people was an even stronger enemy. If Hong Wan were to block that group of people alone, how could she have any hope of surviving? Yun Xingya's expression suddenly turned cold. You said that Miss Hong Wan is going to stop a group of enemies? Are those enemies coming for our Yun family? Was the Jun family's misfortune also because of our Yun family? Chapter 2031. Hong Ling was momentarily at a loss for words. He knew that if he didn't tell the truth today, these people wouldn't follow him. Therefore, Hong Ling didn't hide it anymore and told him everything. After hearing the truth of the matter, Yun Xingya's expression became even colder. Why didn't you say these things earlier? Since the enemy is targeting our Yun family should just stand up. Why should we sacrifice innocent people like you? Big brother Yun. Ning Xian stretched out her hand and held Yun Xingya's trembling hand tightly. She then raised her head to look at Hong Ling and the others. Can I trouble you to take care of Shu'er and these children? Hong Ling opened his mouth. He knew the intentions of the Yun family and wanted to say something, but in the end, he helplessly shut his mouth. All right. Mother. Yun Ruoshui quickly stood up and grabbed Ning Xian's arm tightly. Shu'er wants to go too. No, Shu'er, you guys stay here and let your parents and your grandfather face these things. Ning Xian's expression was very gentle. Also, remember, if your parents don't come back, immediately think of a way to find your cousin. Only by her side will you be the safest. After Ning Xian finished speaking, she raised her head to look at Yun Xingya. A hint of determination appeared on her beautiful and dignified face. Brother Yun, let's go. From the moment she married Yun Xingya, she had been a member of the Yun family. No matter how many difficulties and dangers there were, she would definitely advance and retreat with her husband. No, mother. Yun Ruoshui burst into tears. She raised her hand to pull Ning Xian, but was held back by the group of people behind her. Her face was covered in tears as she stretched out her arms, wanting to grab onto her loved ones who were about to leave, but in the end, she could only watch as they left. In the mansion of the Eastern Continent's Continent Lord, the entire sky was shrouded in dark clouds. Under the dark clouds, a man holding a halberd stood in the air like a god of war, unmoving like a mountain. His expression was cold and expressionless. Where are the people from the Yun family? Hand them over to me, and maybe I can still let you live. Hong Wan sneered and blocked the entrance of the Continent Lord's mansion alone. Her bright red clothes were as red as flames. If you want to enter, you'll have to step over my dead body. Her voice was very domineering, and there was an unshakable determination flowing between her brows. Humph. The man looked coldly at Hong Wan. Since you want to protect the Yun family, then your fate will be no different from that of the Jun family and the Holy Maiden tribe. Hong Wuan remained unmoved. There was only one belief in her heart, and that was to not let down her friend's trust. Even if he had to use his life as the price, he would not hesitate. The only friend that I, Hong Wuan, have met in this life that I would be willing to give my life to is Yun Luofeng. Her figure was faintly discernible, and her bright red dress seemed to light up the entire sky. Before she left, she told me to protect her family. Then I will not go back on my word. When the man heard Hong Wuan's voice, he looked at her in admiration. However, this admiration was fleeting, and he quickly returned to his initial indifference. So what if Hong Wuan was outstanding? The person Yun Luofeng killed was someone from the Qin family. Even if that person was a traitor who had been expelled from the Qin family, no one was allowed to kill her. Chapter 2032. Otherwise, wouldn't the Qin family lose all face? Since you insist on doing this, don't blame me for being impolite. Men, attack. Kill this woman. The man waved his hand coldly and gave the order indifferently. His gaze was condescending as he looked at Hong Wuan as if he was looking at a dead person. Yes, in his eyes, Hong Wuan was no different from a dead person. Stop. At this moment, a shout suddenly came from the direction of the backyard. Hong Wuan was stunned. She turned around and saw the members of the Yun family hurrying over. A hint of anxiety flashed across her eyes as she asked, "Why are you all here?" Old man Yun had his hands behind his back and a serious expression on his face. He quickly walked to Hong Wuan's side. Yun Xingya and Ning Xen walked behind old man Yun. Neither of them said anything, and their expressions were equally serious. "Who are you?" The man stared coldly at old man Yun and asked expressionlessly. "What, didn't you come here to find our Yun family? Now that the people of our Yun family have come out, you still want to ask who we are?" Old man Yun's face was filled with ridicule, and there was even a hint of ridicule at the corner of his mouth. The man raised his eyes and said arrogantly, "So you are from the Yun family? If that's the case, I'll have to trouble you to come with me. You want to capture us and use them to threaten my granddaughter?" Old man Yun said coldly. Back then, the Northern Continent's Continent Lord Mansion and the Holy Maiden tribe had joined forces to do this kind of thing. Who would have thought that even the people of the Spirit God continent would use this method to threaten Yun Luofeng? "Unless you want everyone to die with you, then come with me immediately." The man was too lazy to waste any more words and went straight to the point. Old man Yun was so angry that his expression changed. His old eyes were filled with anger. "Father." Yun Xingya raised her hand and stopped old man Yun. She raised her head to look at the man and asked, "If we go with you, will you really let the others go?" "That's right." The man looked down at Yun Xingya with disdain in his eyes. "All right, I'll take responsibility for what I've done. The one who committed the crime is my Yun family, it has nothing to do with anyone else. I'll go with you. As for my old man, he's old and can't handle it. My wife is just a woman. She doesn't need to get involved in this kind of thing." Yun Xingya gently pushed Ning Xian's hand away and slowly walked towards the Qin family. "Brother Yun." Ning Xian's heart clenched and she hurriedly chased after him. "We're husband and wife, I can't just watch you walk into danger alone. Even if I die, I want to die with you." How could she not understand Yun Xingya's personality? He absolutely could not be a burden to Yun Luofeng. Therefore, he had already made up his mind to die. Yun Xingya stopped in his tracks. In the end, he didn't say anything. With his hands behind his back, he quickly walked to the front of the Qin family. The man sneered and reached out to grab Yun Xingya. With a boom, a powerful force suddenly attacked from the front, causing him to hurriedly retract his hand and take a few steps back with his right leg. The woman was dressed in red and looked like the sun in the sky. She was breathtakingly beautiful. "I don't care what you want. I only know that I promised Yun Luofeng. I can't go back on my words. Since I've promised her something, I'll definitely do it." Chapter 2033. Hong Wuan glanced at Yun Xingya and Ning Xian, then turned her gaze towards the group of people in front of her. I'm not dead yet. Who can take the Yun family away from my Eastern Continent prefecture? Her voice was extremely domineering, powerful and resonant, and it suddenly shook everyone's hearts. Even the people of the Qin family admired Hong Wuan. Of course, admiration was admiration. They did not forget the purpose of coming here this time. Hong Wuan. Hong Ling saw Hong Wuan take the lead to attack from afar. He was so scared that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. However, any one of those experts was far from what he could deal with. In the sky, the dark clouds once again covered the bright sun. Hong Wuan's figure was very agile as she passed through the crowd. Other than the man leading the group, the rest of the Qin family experts were all experts of the divine spirit realm. Even though Hong Wuan had already broken through to the divine spirit realm, she was still far from being a match for this group of people. Boom! An expert's attack landed on Hong Wuan's body. A trace of blood flowed out of Hong Wuan's mouth. She wiped away the blood and once again bravely attacked the group of experts. Her red clothes had already become tattered, and the wounds on her body were very conspicuous. Her arms were covered in blood, but she still stood firm in the sky, using her body to block the attacks of these experts. Enough. Ning Xian covered her mouth. Lady Hong Wuan, it's really enough. You can't beat them, stop. Enough? How could this be? She had promised Yun Luofeng that she would protect this group of people with her life. Hong Wuan tightly gripped the long sword in her hand, like a god of war, her entire body filled with killing intent. Her body was already riddled with wounds from the attacks of this group of people, but no matter how badly injured she was, she had never thought of taking a step back. You overestimate yourself. The man sensed that Hong Wuan's strength was not up to par. He sneered and swooped up. A powerful force wrapped around his fist and landed on Hong Wuan's chest with a loud bang. Poochie. Blood continuously flowed out of Hong Wuan's mouth. Her hand firmly grabbed onto the man's arm. A look of surprise flashed across the man's eyes. He had become a heavenly god a long time ago, but now, he was imprisoned by a god? Hong Wuan. The corner of the woman's mouth was stained with blood as she revealed a gorgeous smile. Today, even if I die here, I'll drag all of you down to hell. The sword in Hong Wuan's hand was stained with her blood and emitted a stunning red light. Then, under the astonished gazes of the others, the long sword suddenly slashed down, slashing towards the man. The man wanted to break free from Hong Wuan's hand, but he found that he couldn't move at all. He flew into a rage and released his aura, attacking Hong Wuan's body. Hong Wuan's body was like a shredded piece of cloth as she fell heavily onto the ground. Blood flowed uncontrollably from her wound, causing her face to turn extremely pale. At the same time, the sword slashed down. If not for the fact that the man was a heavenly god, his entire arm would have been chopped off. But even so, his shoulder was injured. Blood gushed out and dyed his clothes red. Hong Ling screamed at the top of her lungs. She quickly rushed to Hong Wuan's side as tears streamed down her face. Let's not fight anymore. Daddy doesn't want to lose you. Old Master Yun and the others also quickly rushed to Hong Wuan's side. They took out a stock of spiritual medicine and fed it to Hong Wuan. Chapter 2034. Hong Wuan's bleeding had stopped, but her internal organs were still hurting unbearably. Go away, all of you. Even though she was heavily injured, Hong Wuan still crawled up from the ground. She immediately pushed Hong Ling away. Now, immediately, leave. Leave? That was impossible. If she allowed the Qin family members to leave with old Master Yun and the rest, how could she face Yun Luofeng in the future? Hong Ling wanted to stop her but saw her daughter appear in front of the Qin family members once again. The man looked at Hong Wuan in surprise. You're still alive after receiving such a heavy blow from me? Hong Wuan did not say anything. She gently closed her eyes. A strong gust of wind blew. At this moment, her aura rose and her hair danced wildly in the wind. Even old Master Yun and the rest realized that something was wrong with Hong Wuan's aura, let alone the Qin family members who were standing very close to her. Miss Hong Wan, please stop. Ning Xian's face was pale as she hurriedly cried out in shock. Luan, Hong Ling staggered a little. She tried to get close to Hong Wan a few times, but she was swept away by the storm that was being emitted from Hong Wan's body. She could only watch helplessly as the woman in red's power rose rapidly under the storm. You. The man was shocked. He looked at the woman in front of him and asked through gritted teeth, what kind of secret skill did you use to increase your power? Hong Wan raised her almond-shaped eyes. Once the storm around her slowly disappeared, she slowly walked towards the Qin family members. During this period of time, I came across an opportunity along the way which allowed me to break through to the divine soul level. I also obtained this secret skill at that time. However, the price of using this secret skill was very, very high. However, she did not regret it. A cold light flashed across the man's eyes as he watched Hong Wan approach him. He continued to shout, "Go, kill this woman." The Qin family members regained their senses and charged towards Hong Wan in an instant. Boom! Hong Wan's body was instantly surrounded by a storm. Those who tried to approach her were all thrown out by the storm. Their bodies fell to the ground pathetically and blood flowed continuously from their mouths. I've said it before. As long as I, Hong Wan, am not dead, don't even think about touching a single hair of the Yun family. And I will keep my word. Hong Wan slowly stretched out her hand. The man was stunned. He did not understand what she was trying to do. Just as he was puzzled, a flame shot out from the woman's palm. The flame burned even more violently in the wind. In an instant, it was already in front of him. Boom! The intense flames engulfed the man's body, and the man's heart-wrenching screams could be heard from the flames. Hong Wan's body trembled. In the end, she was unable to withstand it and collapsed. The moment she fell, all the strength in her body disappeared. Her whole body was like a broken piece of glass, looking very fragile. Luan, Hong Ling quickly walked in front of Hong Wan, held her hand tightly and said, "You. Why do you have to do this?" Hong Wan smiled. "At least I kept my promise, didn't I?" At that moment, perhaps sensing Hong Wan's weak breathing, Old Master Yun quickly took out the spiritual medicine from his interspatial ring. His elderly face was filled with anxiety. "These are the spiritual medicine that my granddaughter gave me. Hurry up and feed it to Miss Hong Wan." Chapter 2035. Master Yun had always been stingy, but now, as long as he could save Hong Wan's life, he would not even frown if he had to take out his secret stash of many years. No need. Hong Wan shook her head weakly. "No matter how much spiritual medicine you have, I won't be able to cure me. Why waste it?" Hong Ling clutched Hong Wan's hand tightly. Her face was covered in tears. Yun Xingya and Ning Xian stood to one side with sorrowful looks on their faces. In the end, they had not been able to help at all. Instead, they had dragged Hong Wan down. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a maniacal laugh rang out from within the flames. Not even half a second later, the flames which had been burning fiercely dissipated in the wind. Hong Wan's eyes narrowed. "He's not dead? Do you think that you can kill me with that little bit of power?" The man's gloomy voice was filled with complacency. "Now, because you've forcefully used that secret technique, you don't have long to live. Let's see who else can stop me now." Hong Wan coughed violently. Her beautiful face was now very pale. "Quick, run. Get out of here. Leave." The man's lips curled into a smile. "Do you think that they can leave? There's nothing that the Qin family can't do if they want to do something. Of course, the first person I want to kill is you." His clothes had long been burned clean by the flames, and he was naked in front of everyone's eyes. Boom! Before anyone could realize what was happening, the man had already arrived in front of Hong Wan. His palm stirred up a gust of wind and he was about to land a heavy blow on Hong Wan's chest. Under the man's coercion, no one else could even move, let alone block this attack for Hong Wan. However, suddenly, a gentle breeze flashed past and the man's figure descended from the sky. He reached out with both arms and pulled Hong Wan into his embrace, using his back to receive the attack. Tui! Fresh blood poured from the man's mouth and rained down on Hong Wan's pale face. Hong Wan's eyes widened as she stared dazedly at the man who had pulled her into his arms. Nangong. Yuni? Why? Why is he here? Hong Wan, I'm sorry, I'm late. The corners of Nangong Yuni's mouth curled up into a weak smile, his voice carrying a hint of reluctance. Hong Wan's heart jerked while her eyes felt slightly sour, and she actually had the impulse to cry. I've already used a secret technique, and I don't have long to live. Why did you block this attack for me? I don't want to see you get hurt, that was all. Unfortunately, he came back too late. Nangong Yuni, it's great that your strength has increased. Hong Wan smiled. Back then, in order to make himself worthy of her, Nangong Yuni didn't hesitate to go out to train. Who would have thought that his gains from this training this time were not small? He actually also reached the divine soul level, of course, if they didn't encounter a fortuitous encounter like Hong Wan and Nangong Yuni, even if they cultivated for 1,000 years, they might not be able to break through. I've worked hard just to be able to stand by your side. Without you, what's the use of my life's strength? Nangong Yuni stared at Hong Wan, whose face was turning paler and paler, and found it difficult to conceal the pain in his heart. So, you must hold on. Wait for Yun Luofeng to return, she'll have a way to save you. Nangong Yuni and Yun Luofeng had known each other for 2 lifetimes. In his heart, that woman in white was an omnipotent existence. There was nothing she could not do. Chapter 2036. Unfortunately, Hong Wan smiled bitterly. I'm sorry, I can't hold on any longer. I thought that I could defeat these people with this secret skill, but I've underestimated them. Since you're back, I'll hand over the responsibility of protecting the Yun family to you. Hong Wan's lips were still curled into a smile, but her breathing gradually weakened until her weak breathing disappeared in Nangong Yuni's arms. No. Nangong Yuni hugged Hong Wan's body tightly and let out a heart-wrenching roar. Hong Ling and the others were also stunned as they stared blankly at Hong Wan, who was in Nangong Yuni's arms. Prefecture Lord. Someone let out a cry of surprise. When everyone turned their heads to look, they found that Hong Ling had fainted. Immediately, 2 elders went up to support her. Big Brother Yun. Ning Xian's eyes were filled with grief. We've dragged Miss Hong Wan down. This is all our fault. If they were strong enough, would today's events not have happened? If they had not followed Hong Wan to the East Continent, would Hong Wan not have been sacrificed? Therefore, all of this was their fault. It was because of them that Hong Wan had been harmed. Nangong Yuni hugged Hong Wan's body tightly and stood up from the ground. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared murderously at the gloomy man in front of him. You've caused Hong Wan's death. Those who hurt her deserve to die. Nangong Yuni's body trembled as he spoke. At that moment, he only had one thought in his mind. Kill these people and avenge Hong Wan. The man laughed icily. You and that little girl are only deities. Do you think that you can threaten me with your powers? Nangong Yuni did not speak. He slowly put Hong Wan down and lowered his gaze. His eyes were filled with gentleness. Wait for me to kill these people. Then, I'll travel to the ends of the earth with you and never abandon you. The 2 of them did not get to know each other well. Furthermore, because he had peeped on Hong Wan while she was bathing, he had been hunted down by her. However, in the process of this chase and escape, he had already fallen into the trap. When Nangong Yuni put down the Hong Wan, he raised his palm and a swift and fierce long sword appeared in his hand. Like the wind, he had already rushed in front of the man. The man quickly took out his weapon, and a powerful force spread out from the 2 of them, causing the entire world to seem gloomy. Of these 2 people, one was a heavenly god, and the other was just a god. But, previously, Hong Wan's flames had already caused the man to suffer internal injuries. So, now that he was facing the aggressive Nangong Yuni, he actually found it a little hard to resist. Of course, if that wasn't the case, Nangong Yuni wouldn't have been able to defeat this man. As for the other heaven gods of the Qin clan, before this, it had been burned to ashes by the flames of the Hong Wan. Hong Ling slowly regained consciousness amidst the cries of the elders. When he looked at Hong Wan, who had collapsed to the ground, his eyes were filled with grief and despair. In this life, he only had one daughter, and he had given her all his love and care. Now, he had to send off his daughter. How could she stand it? Master Yun walked towards Hong Ling and bowed deeply. His elderly features were filled with remorse. Lord Hong Ling, everything that had happened was because of the Yun family. Hong Wan had sacrificed herself for the Yun family. It's the Yun family that has let you down. Chapter 2037. Hong Ling closed his eyes. His face was filled with agony. After a long while, he opened his eyes and looked at Hong Wan, who was on the ground with a sorrowful gaze. He slowly walked to Hong Wan's side and crouched down. His fingers gently stroked the woman's pale face. This isn't your fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the Qin family for being utterly heartless. Despite his grief, Hong Ling's mind was still very clear. He knew that all of this was not the fault of the Yun family. Wanner, don't be afraid. Father won't let you be too lonely. Hong Ling picked up Hong Wan's body from the ground and walked slowly towards the East Continent Prefecture with great difficulty. His footsteps were very steady, but his body looked as if it could collapse at any time. Prefecture Lord. The East Continent Prefecture's elders' expressions changed greatly, afraid that Hong Ling would take things too hard. Hearing the voice from behind him, Hong Ling paused in his steps. He lowered his eyes and looked at the woman who was lying quietly in his arms. He suppressed the grief in his heart and said, I only want to quietly accompany her for a while longer. I won't take things too hard, don't worry. After saying this, Hong Ling raised his steps and gradually disappeared from the world's sight. At this moment, in the sky, Nangong Yuni had turned all his grief into strength and was fighting the enemy before him without any regard for his own life. Under Nangong Yuni's reckless fighting style, the man finally couldn't hold on any longer. With a bang, Nangong Yuni's fist landed on his chest. He was immediately knocked down from the air and ruthlessly fell to the ground. The entire ground had been smashed into a large crater by the force of the blow. However, Nangong Yuni did not stop. With another wave of his fist, a powerful force came crashing down towards the man in the large crater. Blood flowed continuously from the man's mouth. His skin and flesh had been split open. He lay in the large crater and his body was so heavy that he could not even lift it. All he could do was stare gloomily at Nangong Yuni in the sky. I'm from the Qin family. Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Nangong Yuni's attack. Even Nangong Yuni did not know how many times he had hit him. His mind was filled with the scene of Hong Wan collapsing. When Nangong Yuni was almost exhausted, the man in the pit also stopped breathing. Then, Nangong Yuni, who was in the void, staggered and almost fell from the sky. But in the end, he still supported his battered and exhausted body. Hong Wan, Nangong Yuni didn't spare another glance at the corpses that littered the ground. He staggered towards the direction of the Eastern Continent Prefecture's backyard. When he saw Hong Wan laid flat on the bed by Hong Ling, he burst into tears and punched the ground fiercely. If I had come earlier, Hong Wan wouldn't have left. At this moment, Nangong Yuni placed all the blame on himself. He believed that it was his late arrival that caused Hong Wan to lose her life. He slowly stood up from the ground, clenched his fists tightly, turned around and walked out of the house. Where are you going? Hong Ling, who was immersed in grief, saw Nangong Yuni's actions and asked. Nangong Yuni's footsteps paused. Avenge her. Even if you killed that heavenly god today, with your strength, you are still not a match for the Qin family. If you go, you will only be courting death. His daughter was already dead. He was not willing to sacrifice anyone else. Nangong Yuni's previous gentle and carefree expression was replaced by a pair of eyes filled with hatred and killing intent. My strength is not enough, so I will use my life to fight. I will not let Hong Wan die in vain. Anyone who is involved in this matter, I will make them pay the price. Chapter 2038. As he finished speaking, Nangong Yuni walked out of the room. His confident and unrestrained figure disappeared from the courtyard. Hong Wuan, wait for me. After I avenge you, I will accompany you to the ends of the earth, to heaven and hell. Unwavering in this lifetime. Hong Ling opened her mouth, but in the end, she could not keep Nangong Yuni. She turned her head again, her gaze falling on Hong Wuan's serene and beautiful face. She gently held her ice-cold hand. Wuaner, Nangong Yuni is a good boy, but in the end, you two are not fated to be together. I don't know if you will be able to find your mother in hell. If you are fated, you two will eventually meet. But you were able to meet, yet you left me alone in this world. How can you bear to do that? However, Father will not blame you. You kept your promise. Father is proud of you. Hong Wuan could no longer hear Hong Ling's words. Her expression was serene and she did not seem to be in any pain. She lay quietly on the bed as if she was asleep. It was impossible to tell that the woman on the bed had already lost her life. In East Continent City, Yun Luofeng stopped in her tracks. Perhaps she felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. She frowned slightly. Yun Xiao, do you feel that something is wrong? Yun Xiao, who was standing to the side, was still expressionless. Her expression was cold. Her long black robe fluttered in the breeze, attracting the attention of many young women. I'm not sure. Ever since she entered East Continent City, she realized that it was not as lively as before. It was too quiet. For some reason, Yun Luofeng felt a little uneasy. She raised her head to look at the gates of East Continent City and said, Yun Xiao, mother, let's go to East Continent City to take a look. After leaving the Wind and Cloud Continent, the place she arrived at was outside of East Continent City. So, if she wanted to know what had happened on the continent, the fastest way was to find Hong Wuan. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng quickened her pace and quickly walked towards East Continent City. Inside East Continent City, white silk hung everywhere. The faces of the people who went in and out were covered with a layer of sorrow. Yun Luofeng's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that someone in East Continent City had passed away? Second uncle. Suddenly, Yun Luofeng saw a familiar figure and hurriedly called out. Hearing her voice, Yun Xingya's body stiffened. She turned her head in disbelief. In that instant, the woman's beautiful face was imprinted in his cold eyes. Feng you're back? Yun Xingya's lips trembled slightly. However, when he thought of Hong Wuan's death, his face was covered in guilt and grief. However, in the next second, his expression froze. Sister-in-law? He stared fixedly at Bai Ling, who was standing next to Yun Luofeng. His cool and handsome face was filled with shock. Feng who is this lady? Why does she look so similar to sister-in-law? Second brother. Bai Ling caught a glimpse of Yun Xingya's expression and slightly raised her lips. What, I'm back. Don't you welcome me? The woman's voice was very familiar. It was so familiar that it caused Yun Xingya's body to tremble. Tears gradually appeared in her clear and cold eyes. Are you really my sister-in-law? You're not dead? Sister-in-law was still alive. She was actually alive. Yun Xingya didn't know what he was feeling right now. If it wasn't for Hong Wuan's death, he would probably be so excited that he wouldn't be able to extricate himself. Unfortunately, Hong Wuan's death made him extremely sad, so he couldn't express that kind of emotion. Chapter 2039. Second uncle, this is a long story. Oh right, what happened in the East Continent Prefecture? Did someone die? Yun Xingya lowered her head slightly. It's Hong Wuan, she. Dead. Boom. Yun Xingya's words were like a bolt of lightning that struck Yun Luofeng. He was stunned on the spot. Second uncle, this kind of joke isn't funny. Can you not tease me like this? Feng what I said is true. Hong Wuan is dead. In order to protect our Yun family, she died at the hands of the Qin family of Spirit God Continent. Yun Luofeng wanted to take 2 steps forward, but for some reason, her legs were trembling a little. Before she could even take a step, she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Yun Xiao, who was beside her, supported her in time. Feng. Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng with a worried expression. Yun Luofeng clenched his fists tightly. I don't believe it. Yun Xiao, carry me to the morning hall. I don't believe that Hong Wan is dead. This was because the current her didn't even have the strength to lift her feet. She couldn't walk to the morning hall by herself. All right. Yun Xiao carried Yun Luofeng by the waist and walked towards the morning hall. Bai Ling's expression was also a little ugly. She said in a deep voice, "Second brother, tell me exactly what happened." Looking at her daughter's reaction, that girl called Hong Wan must have a very good relationship with her. She couldn't take this blow. Since that was the case, then the Qin family of spirit god continent. There was no need for it to exist. Sister-in-law, let's go first. I'll tell you in detail what happened later. Everyone in the Eastern Continent Prefecture was immersed in grief. They didn't even notice Yun Luofeng coming in. It was old man Yun who was the first to see his granddaughter. Just as he was about to go up and say a few words, he suddenly saw Bai Ling who had followed him in. After that, Yun Xingya told the old man that this woman was Bai Ling. If it was in the past, the old man would definitely be so excited that he couldn't extricate himself. But now, even if he saw Bai Ling, he couldn't be excited. His old face was filled with sorrow. Hong Wan's death had a great impact on them. Whether it was the people of the Yun family or the people of the Eastern Continent Prefecture, none of them could walk out of this kind of grief. Yun Luofeng walked down from Yun Zhao's embrace. She reached out with a trembling hand and lifted the paper covering her face. In an instant, a deathly pale face appeared in her line of sight. The woman's face was very serene as she lay quietly on the bed. Her eyes were very vivid, but they were so familiar that it made Yun Luofeng's heart twitch. She clutched her chest tightly with her hands and closed her eyes, as if trying to relieve the pain. However, not only did the pain not lessen, it instead intensified. Tears flowed down like a swarming river and covered her entire face. Hong Wan. Yun Luofeng opened her eyes. Her fingers were trembling slightly. There were several times when she wanted to hold Hong Wan's hand, but she was unable to completely raise it. I'm sorry, I've returned late. I'm sorry that I wasn't by your side when you needed me the most. I even made you lose your life for the Yun family. Hong Wan, do you still remember the first time we met? At that time, you insisted on fighting me, but in the end, we ended up in a draw. Perhaps from that moment onwards, because of the feeling of sympathy, our friendship in the future was formed. As if recalling that domineering woman in red clothes, Yun Luofeng's expression softened. Chapter 2040. Now that you've been killed by the Qin family, I will flatten the entire spirit god mainland. I will use the blood of those people to nourish your soul. At this moment, the woman's white robes fluttered despite the lack of wind. Her entire body was filled with a murderous aura that made those around her feel like hell from the bottom of their hearts. Bai Ling had returned to Yun Luofeng's side for some time now. However, the Yun Luofeng in her heart was always calm and collected no matter what happened. She had never seen her fly into a rage. Now, she finally understood how frightening her daughter could be when she was angry. It was as if everything around her had turned into a murderous hell. She was stepping on a ground littered with corpses and blood. Also, I'm taking Hong Wan's body with me. Yun Luofeng did not discuss this with them. He had made this decision forcefully and did not give anyone a chance to object. However, not only was Hong Ling not angry after hearing this, her eyes lit up. She did not ask for Yun Luofeng's reason and gently nodded. All right, you can take her with you. Why did Yun Luofeng want to take Hong Wan's body? Was there a way to revive her? She did not say it out loud, which meant that the chances of revival were not high. However, even if there was only a small chance, he would not give it up. Yun Luofeng did not waste any time and waved his hand. In an instant, the body that had been lying on the bed disappeared without a trace. Faced with this situation, she no longer hid her abilities. Clearly, this move of hers had completely frightened everyone present. Master, mother, second uncle, let's go first. I have other matters to attend to. All right. Old Master Yun glanced at Yun Luofeng and sighed softly. Hong Wuan's death had been a huge blow to his granddaughter. However, even so, she could not allow herself to fall. She must prepare everything to avenge Hong Wuan. Yun Luofeng instructed again. Make a trip to the Windy Continent. Send word to Qi Su and Qi Ling, ask them to bring all the top experts of the Windy Continent here. Feng, what are you planning to do? Master Yun could not hold back his curiosity and asked. Yun Luofeng's face lit up with a cold smile. Of course. I'm going to war with the Qin family. Wanting to attack the Yun family and even causing Hong Wuan's death, they could only use their lives to accompany Hong Wuan in death. If she did not destroy the entire Qin clan, how could she face Hong Wuan? Azure Wing replied indifferently, yes, Master. If they wanted to travel from West Spirit Academy to the Wind Cloud Continent, it would require the combined efforts of many elites. Unfortunately, the elders of West Spirit Academy had already opened the space once, and it was obvious that they did not have enough power to open it again. Fortunately, there was another way to reach the Wind Cloud Continent. Furthermore, she had specially arranged for someone to receive her when she left the Wind Cloud Continent. If the two sides worked together, they could use the simplest method to open the space gate. Feng, I don't think you can go to the Jun family now. Master Yun sighed. I heard from the Lord that old man Jun has suffered serious injuries and is recuperating at the Sacred Lady clan. The Dragon and Phoenix clans have already left to search for you and are no longer with the two clans. The elites of the Witch Demon clan and the people of the Central Plains are on their way, but they have yet to arrive because they are too far away. The elders from the West Spirit mainland have been suffering from severe injuries and have not been able to recover. As for the South Continent's regional lord, the Manor Lord had previously begged the South Continent to send someone over to help but was chased out by the people from the South Continent. Chapter 2041. Yun Luofeng was aware of the situation at West Spirit Academy. The first time they had opened the space, it had been Ji Jiutian's ability, but a few old men had secretly learned it. The second time, it had been the combined efforts of a few old men to open the path to the Fengyun continent. However, the opening this time had used up too much of their energy. Even though Yun Luofeng had left behind many elixirs, it would take some time to replenish them, I understand. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Dong Zhou. Dong Zhou has helped me a lot this time. Hong Wuan has even sacrificed herself. Yun Luofeng's heart trembled at the mention of Hong Wuan's death. So, Yun Luofeng, will never forget your kindness in this lifetime. Aside from Nan Zhou, the Yun family is indebted to everyone else. I, Yun Luofeng, have always repaid kindness with kindness and enmity with enmity. For people like Nan Zhou who sit back and do nothing, I will not care no matter what happens in Nan Zhou in the future. Once she had finished speaking, she leaned weakly against Yun Zhao's chest and gently closed her eyes to hide the pain in her eyes. Yun Xiao, take me to the Holy Lady clan. I want to treat old Master Jun's injuries. She had no strength left in her body, and even standing was a struggle. She had never felt so weak before, no matter what kind of powerful cultivators she had faced. Murderous intent surged in Yun Zhao's heart as he hugged the woman against his chest tightly. Of course, he was not so angry because of Hong Wuan's death, but because the Qin family had made Yun Luofeng cry. Those who had made her shed a tear could only be made up with their lives. Miss Yun, Hong Ling stood up as she watched Yun Luofeng's departing figure. Is there any way to revive Wuan? As long as she can come back to life, I am willing to exchange my life for it. Yun Luofeng paused in his steps, but in the end, he left without looking back. She did not give Hong Ling an accurate answer. Because she did not know if Hong Wuan could be revived, at the Holy Lady clan. Jun Lintian lay weakly on his bed with his eyes closed. At his bedside, Jun Linger and Jun Xian quietly accompanied him. Jun Lintian's breathing was weak and his voice was weak. I'm fine. Please take me to the East Continent. I'm worried about the Yun family, or you can bring them here. Master, you can't even crawl. How are you going to help the Yun family? Jun Xian sighed helplessly. As long as I'm alive, I can help them. Jun Xian's eyes widened, but because of that weak voice, he didn't have the same awe-inspiring power as before. Your body is already in trouble. Don't try to show off. Jun Xian's eyes were filled with worry. Fine, this old man can't help the Yun family, so what are you all staying here for? Hurry up and protect them. Old Master Yun was so angry that his breathing became ragged. If something were to happen to the Yun family, how would he explain it to Yun Lass? I've already discussed it with Hong Wan. I'll stay here to look after you and the other patients. She'll protect the Yun family. Moreover, Hong Wan is already a deity, we should believe in his strength. Even so, Jun Xian's eyes were filled with uncontrollable worry. He began to wonder if it had been the right decision to let Hong Wan take the Yun family away. Chapter 2042. I don't need anyone to protect me. Scram to the East Continent Prefecture. Jun Lintian was so anxious that he tried to stand up. His qi and blood were unstable and he coughed heavily. He coughed out a mouthful of blood, causing his pale face to turn even paler. If something happens to the Yun family, how am I supposed to face Yun Ruoyan? How am I supposed to face her in the future? Jun Lintian's face was filled with grief. His body was weak as he lay on the bed, unable to hold back his tears. Father, Jun Linger suddenly stood up and said, I'm going to the East Continent to check on the situation. If worse comes to worst, I'll bring Grandfather Yun and the others here. She then turned to walk out of the room. Jun Xian stood up anxiously. Linger, stop right there. Father, don't make Grandfather angry. Besides, he's really worried about the Yun family. I'm going to check on them so that he can be at ease, right? Jun Linger's eyes were sparkling as she spoke. Jun Xian sighed, I think it's better if I go. Linger, stay here and keep your grandfather company. I'll be back soon. In reality, he was worried about the Yun family as well. If the East Continent Prefecture could not protect them, why not bring them back? At least, they could protect the Yun family with their lives. Just as Jun Xian was about to walk out, Lin Ruobai rushed in from the door happily. Grandfather Jun, my master is back. My master is back, Xiao Bai's master. Isn't that? Jun Xian was stunned, then filled with joy. Even the feeble Grandpa Jun straightened his back and looked out the door. Yun Luofeng and the others were hurrying over from outside the room. Grandpa Jun's heart, which had been filled with worry for so many days, was finally at ease when he saw them. She's back. She's finally back. As long as she's back, no matter how many problems there are, they will all be solved. After all, in Jun Lintian's heart, Yun Luofeng was not only a genius, but also an omnipotent god, Sister Yun. Jun Ling was full of joy as she walked towards Yun Luofeng. Her expression suddenly became somewhat aggrieved. It's good that you're back. Many things have happened in the 7 continents these days. Facing the joy of the crowd, Yun Luofeng nodded his head lightly. I understand. This time, I am here to treat the injuries of Grandpa Jun and those from the Sacred Maiden tribe. As for the enmity with the Qin family, I will settle it with them later. Grandpa Jun swept his gaze across the people of the Yun family who were standing beside Yun Luofeng and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the crisis this time has been resolved. This time, we must properly thank those people from the Eastern Continent, especially Miss Hong Wan. She's sincerely trying to help you. Apart from the Southern Continent, there were a few other forces that chose to remain as bystanders when the Yun family encountered such a crisis. Therefore, Hong Wan had originally wanted to gather everyone on the mainland. Even if they couldn't deal with the Qin family, they could at least delay them. Who knew that the other party would immediately flee after hearing about the Qin clan's strength? West Spirit Academy was unable to help, but the elders of West Spirit Academy had sent some experts over. Unfortunately, there were already countless casualties when they were at the Jun residence. Wang Yingying of the Witch Demon tribe had been saved by Yun Luofeng before, so the Witch Demon tribe naturally stood on Yun Luofeng's side. The previous continent lord of the Central Continent was on good terms with Jun Lintian, so he had personally brought people over. However, because the Central Continent was too far from the spiritual state, those people couldn't make it in time. Chapter 2043. The Holy Lady tribe's previous actions had indeed displeased Yun Luofeng, but this time, they had helped him without any hesitation. Yun Luofeng's ill feelings were dispelled, even if they had helped him because of Lin Ruobai. The Phoenix tribe and Dragon tribe were Yun Zhao's slaves. Only they could find Yun Xiao. Hence, the two of them had gone to West Spirit Academy to open the path to the Windy Continent. Unfortunately, before they could find Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, they had already left the Windy Continent. Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened when she heard Jun Lintian's words. Her expression was filled with a sharp murderous intent. Jun Lintian sensed that something was amiss and was slightly taken aback. What's wrong? What happened? At that moment, the atmosphere in the room was very sorrowful. Old Master Yun looked at Jun Lintian and said slowly, Hong Wan is dead. Hong Wan was dead? Jun Lintian coughed, his face flushed red. Jun Linger was so frightened that she hurried to his side to help him breathe. Is what you said true? Miss Hong Wan, Jun Lintian was unwilling to believe that Hong Wan was dead. In reality, he was not familiar with Hong Wan. They had only met a few times. However, Hong Wan had died to protect Yun Luofeng's family. How could he not sigh at their undying love? Thank you for your hard work during this period of time. I will treat your injuries first. I will settle the score with the spirit god continent later. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed as a cold light flashed in them. Even if Qin Luo had died in her hands, he was only a collateral descendant of the Qin family. She did not think that the Qin family would mobilize so many people to come to the 7 continents for Qin Luo, much less send a heavenly god. So, there must be a reason that she was not aware of. Yun Luofeng felt that a huge conspiracy was shrouding her. However, this conspiracy did not make her timid. Instead, it ignited her fighting spirit. Yun Luofeng's return shocked the 7 continents. In the South Continent Lord's residence. The South Continent Lord immediately stood up after hearing his subordinate's report. His expression was ugly. Yun Luofeng is back. Didn't she leave the 7 continents? Why is she back so soon? Thinking of Yun Luofeng's methods, the South Continent's Continent Lord felt a little guilty. After all, when the Yun family had needed help the most, he had chosen to turn a blind eye to it and had even chased out the people sent by the East Continent. If Yun Luofeng knew of his actions, then, the more the South Continent's Continent Lord thought about it, the more anxious he became, his expression filled with worry. Unfortunately, he was thinking too much. Even if he did not do anything, Yun Luofeng would not come looking for him because of this. Because everyone had the right to make their own choices. Of course, if the South Continent was in danger in the future, she would give them a taste of their own medicine. Continent Lord, you don't have to worry too much. An old man on the side pondered for a while and said, Yun Luofeng has offended the people of the spirit god continent. Any one of the experts there can kill her. She can't even protect herself now. How can she cause trouble for the South Continent? Hearing this, the South Continent's Continent Lord gradually relaxed. However, he still frowned and said helplessly, I don't know if my decision was right or wrong. I have never interacted with Yun Luofeng, but I know her character. Now that we are standing by and watching the Yun family face a disaster, she will definitely ignore the South Continent even if we beg her in the future. Chapter 2044. The old man sneered, his lips curling into a mocking smile. Continent Lord, I don't think there is any harm in cutting ties with Yun Luofeng. That girl likes to stir up trouble too much, and this time, she has caused such trouble. If we don't clear up our relationship, she will definitely drag down our South Continent. Moreover, he paused and continued, the 7 continents are very peaceful, and our South Continent is also a top force. As long as we don't provoke those old monsters of the spirit god continent, who else can cause trouble for the South Continent? As for asking her for help, that is even more impossible. The South Continent Continent Lord completely relaxed and threw the news of Yun Luofeng's return to the back of his mind. At this moment, the old man still did not know that the 7 continents were indeed facing a calamity in the future. Those friends who had helped Yun Luofeng had all lived safely under her protection. As for those people who had watched the Yun family die, no matter how they begged, they could not move her heart. You were greedy for life and afraid of death, and you did not do anything to help the Yun family. This matter was not wrong. Who did not care about life? How many people would lose their lives for insignificant people? Therefore, Yun Luofeng would not settle the score with the South Continent because of this. But at the same time, you can forget about asking for her help in the future. You can choose to ignore it, but she can do the same. This was giving you a taste of your own medicine. Besides the South Continent Lord Palace, some of the other middle and lower forces were also cowering, afraid that Yun Luofeng's anger would affect them, just as everyone thought that Yun Luofeng's return would cause a bloodbath in the 7 continents. The entire 7 continents were tranquil. It was as if nothing had happened. Seeing that Yun Luofeng did not move, the South Continent Lord finally relaxed. It seemed that the girl was also afraid of the spirit god continent, so she did not dare to take revenge. Therefore, she would not make things difficult for the South Continent at this critical juncture. This made the South Continent Lord feel relaxed. Just like before Yun Luofeng's return, he did what he had to do and did not pay attention to Yun Luofeng's actions. At this moment, in the Sacred Lady tribe. When Yun Luofeng heard that the people from the Witch Demon tribe and the Central Prefecture had arrived, he stood up and went out to greet them. The Witch Demon tribe was naturally Huang Yingying, and the one leading the Central Prefecture was the previous continent master Mu Dong, who was also an old friend of Jun Lindian. "You've come?" Seeing his beloved, Yun Luofeng's expression turned warm as he asked. "Master," Huang Yingying looked at Yun Luofeng apologetically, "I'm late." Mu Dong did not say anything. He kept sighing with a helpless look on his face. Even if you had come a step earlier, you would not have been able to help much. Instead, you would have increased unnecessary casualties. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly, his tone indifferent. Huang Yingying smiled bitterly. She had been cultivating very hard and was very close to becoming a god. Even so, she still hadn't become a god. Actually, when I brought the people from the Witch Demon tribe here, no one dared to object. Huang Yingying's eyes were very bright and her brows were delicate. However, Senior Mu Dong's actions were stopped by those people from the Central Prefecture, but he still came despite the objections. The corners of Mu Dong's mouth twitched. "I've been friends with old man Jun for so many years, how could I not care about him? As for the others, there's no need to care at all. Although I'm no longer the continent master of the Central Prefecture, I still have the final say in the Central Prefecture." Chapter 2045. Yun Luofeng did not reply. He fell silent. After a long while, he said, "Since you have come, I will tell you my plans. The Qin clan killed Hong Wan. I will definitely avenge this. Even if I have to use everything I have, I will use the lives of my enemies to accompany me in death." Huang Yingying seemed to understand Yun Luofeng's thoughts. She said respectfully, "From the moment you saved me, I have been your servant. No matter what you want to do, master, I will lead the sorcerer tribe to stand by your side." Mu Dong also smiled. "Isn't it just a spirit god continent? This old man has long since disregarded death. Girl, whatever you want to do, just do it. We will always be your support." Yun Luofeng's eyes shone brightly in the face of their true feelings. "Good. Then I will now announce to the world that I, Yun Luofeng, will declare war on the spirit god mainland." Yun Luofeng's domineering voice was cold. "Also, Huang Yingying, invite all the forces in the 7 continents. I want to see how many people are willing to fight with me." "Yes." Huang Yingying responded respectfully. There were many forces in the 7 continents. Apart from the continent lord mansions, there were also a few large sections. All these forces added together formed a considerable force. Moreover, there was no lack of existences like the sorcerer tribe that were not weaker than the continent lord mansions. Mu Dong looked at Yun Luofeng with a complicated expression. He was a shrewd old man. It was impossible for him not to know Yun Luofeng's true intentions. She just wanted to use this to clearly see how many people stood by her side. Only then would she be able to make a judgment. After Yun Luofeng left, Huang Yingying carried out her orders. Not long after, the elders from the West Spirit mainland arrived one after another. Even the little Lolita, Ji Fei, who looked like a Ral, whom Yun Luofeng had saved previously, arrived with her attendant, and Ziheo, and the members of the Ji family. Huli was even more so. He had already sold himself to Yun Luofeng for 10 years. Under these circumstances, he naturally could not remain indifferent. Apart from them, no one else rushed over. After all, Yun Luofeng's opponents were not ordinary enemies. They were experts from the spirit god mainland. How could they dare to become enemies with these people? Therefore, due to this fear, the other forces naturally did not send anyone inside a simple room. Yun Luofeng sat cross-legged on the bed with her eyes closed. Her soul had long since entered the divine grimoire space. Under the azure sky, the green grass was exceptionally lush. The red-robed woman's body was laid flat on the ground. The woman's hands were placed in front of her chest. Her expression was serene and calm, as if she had fallen asleep under the bright sun. There was not the slightest trace of a dead person's aura. "Little Mo, do you really have a way to revive Hong Wuan?" Yun Luofeng stared at Little Mo as he asked. Little Mo pondered for a moment before replying, "I'm not completely sure. I'm not even half sure. Tell me the method. No matter how difficult it is, I will not give up." Yun Luofeng's expression was resolute. Little Mo paused. "Do you still remember what the Divine Medical Codex told you? With the Divine Codex of Medicine, it's not impossible for you to heal bones and bring the dead back to life. If you could come back before Hong Wuan breathed her last, you would be able to cure her on the spot. Unfortunately, you came back too late." Chapter 2046. Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened. She had indeed come back too late. Otherwise, Hong Wuan would not have died. However, if you are strong enough in the future, you can pull Hong Wuan back from the underworld directly. Then, you can resurrect her. The prerequisite is that her soul is not destroyed. If her soul is destroyed, you can't resurrect her no matter how capable you are. Yun Luofeng's eyes flickered. "According to what you said, when I am strong enough, can I resurrect my father?" Yun Luofeng had already asked Old Master Yun about Bai Ling and Yun Yang. Yun Yang was indeed dead. His body had been intact at the time, and Old Master Yun had recognized it at first glance. As for Bai Ling, there was indeed a female corpse in the Yun family's ancestral grave, but the female corpse had been mutilated beyond recognition. Her figure resembled Bai Ling, and she was lying not far from Yun Yang. Therefore, Old Master Yun had assumed that the female corpse was Bai Ling. It was only now that he knew that he had made a mistake, but Yun Yang was indeed dead. Little Mo looked at Yun Luofeng and shook her head. "I asked you to preserve Hong Wuan's body so that there would be a chance of resurrecting her. However, Yun Yang's body has long turned to dust. You can't resurrect him. What about possession and rebirth?" Yun Luofeng asked again. "That won't do," Little Mo replied helplessly. "The conditions for reincarnation are too harsh. You were lucky enough to find a corpse that matched your soul. That was why you were reincarnated on this continent. If the conditions are not met, you will not be able to reincarnate. Even if you succeed, you will suffer a backlash that will destroy your soul." Yun Luofeng sighed softly. It seemed that she really could not resurrect Yun Yang. "However, Master, do you know that the underworld really exists in this world?" Little Mo continued. "Don't ask me how to get there. I can only tell you that only souls can enter that hell. Your physical body will disappear once you approach it. Only when you are dead will you know the way to the underworld. The living won't know. Similarly, the people in the underworld can't come out either." Little Mo noticed Yun Luofeng's darkened expression and slowly said, "However, what the world doesn't know is that under normal circumstances, the people of the netherworld cannot leave. However, there is a condition. That is, if she breaks through to the Divine Lord level, she can occasionally come to the mainland." "Divine Sovereign?" Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and asked. Little Mo nodded. "Don't think that it's easy to become a Divine Lord. A place like the underworld is not suitable for cultivation. If you want to break through, the conditions are much harsher than the outside world. Unless you have a fortuitous encounter, you won't be able to break through another level in your lifetime. Yun Luofeng did not pursue the matter any further. She slowly stood up and said, "The most important thing right now is to completely remove the poison from my mother's body. Today will be the last day to remove the poison from her body. Moreover, it was urgent for her to improve her strength." After saying this, Yun Luofeng swept a glance at the woman in red on the ground. His tone was firm and unquestionable. "Hong Wan, even if there is only a 1% chance, I will resurrect you. I definitely won't let you wander alone in the ice-cold netherworld." With that, Yun Luofeng no longer lingered here. She withdrew her gaze from Hong Wan, and in the next moment, the white figure suddenly vanished from this patch of grass. Chapter 2047. Bai Ling was already waiting for Yun Luofeng in the room. When she saw the two people entering the room, her beautiful face curled into a slight smile. "Feng Shao you're here." Yun Luofeng nodded. "Today is the last day to detoxify you. After today, the poison in your body will be completely removed. However, I could sense that you were on the verge of a breakthrough. This time, if you make good use of it, you might be able to become a Sir God." A look of surprise flashed across Bai Ling's eyes. Being able to detoxify the poison was already beyond her expectations. Who would have thought that she could break through to become a Sir God? Yun Shao. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Yun Shao. "Come and help me. If I want to help my mother break through, I need 2 Sir Gods by her side." She had sent Yun Yi to the Fengyun continent. Now, the only 2 Sir Gods by her side were Little Worm and Yun Shao. This time, the treatment did not end as quickly as usual. Yun Luofeng had already been in there for a few days. What Yun Luofeng did not know was that in the few days that she had been treating Bai Ling, the Qin family had sent people over again. This time, they wanted the Holy Lady tribe and the Jun family to hand Yun Luofeng over. At that moment, the entire sky above the Holy Lady tribe's towering mountain was dark. Countless people stood in the void with swords in their hands. They were even denser than the dark clouds. At the forefront of the group of experts was a handsome man. This man's eyes were very arrogant and he looked like he was overbearing. "It's him." The elder in gray from the Holy Lady tribe recognized this man at first glance. His emotions were stirred up and his eyes were filled with anger and resentment. "This is the fellow who took away the Holy Lady tribe's leader. You're saying that this bastard took away my mother?" Lin Ruobai's chest heaved up and down in anger. His baby face was filled with anger. The man's gaze swept across the ground. When he saw Lin Ruobai's delicate and adorable face, a look of surprise appeared in his eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. "Hand Yun Luofeng over. Otherwise, the Qin family will trample this Holy Lady tribe." The man raised his head slightly and said arrogantly. He would never have imagined that someone could kill a heavenly god in this place known as the Forsaken Land. Therefore, he had no choice but to come here personally this time. "Dream on." Jun Lintian puffed out his chest and stepped forward. "If you want to touch my granddaughter-in-law, you'll have to step over my old bones first." The others also stepped forward. Facing the terrifying opponent in the sky, no one flinched. Just because, on this mountain of the sacred maiden tribe, there was someone they wanted to guard, looks like that woman, Yun Luofeng, has really returned. The delicate man chuckled. His smile was filled with disdain and ridicule. "Since she's a coward, I, Qin Yuan, will force her out." Qin Yuan's gaze swept across the area. With a boom, he raised his hand and a powerful force blasted out. Grandpa Jun's body was instantly sent flying backwards, blood raining down from the sky. But Qin Yuan didn't kill him. He only wanted to torture these people so as to force Yun Luofeng out. If he killed them, wouldn't it be meaningless? Who are Yun Luofeng's relatives? Qin Yuan gently raised his brows and his gaze swept across the group of people below. Chapter 2048. That's me. Old Master Yun ignored the pulling of the people around him and strode out. The old man still looked fearless. His hands were behind his back, and his face was stern and proud. You good-for-nothings only know how to take advantage of the spirit god continent's dominance to bully us. If you have the ability, then kill me. What kind of ability do you have to use us to threaten my granddaughter? Old Master Yun was fuming. Especially since the Qin family had killed Hong Wuan. Hong Wuan was such a good girl, yet she had died in the hands of this bunch of scum. How could he be polite to these scum? If this scum had not been so far away, he would have spat on him. Qin Yuan narrowed his eyes as murderous intent surged in his heart. However, when he thought of the Yun family's intentions, he restrained his murderous intent. It seems that this Yun Luofeng is nothing more than this. Timid, hiding on Holy Maiden Mountain and not daring to come out. Even when her loved ones are in danger, she does not care. Is such a person worthy of your protection? Lin Ruobai roared and charged at Qin Yuan, brandishing his claws. Her little face was flushed with anger as she said angrily, I will not allow you to humiliate my master. Lady Ruobai. The faces of the Holy Maiden tribe members changed drastically. They wanted to stop Lin Ruobai, but it was too late. Lin Ruobai was already in front of Qin Yuan, bang. Qin Yuan lifted his leg and kicked Lin Ruobai's chest. Lin Ruobai's body fell from the sky and slammed into the ground. She felt as if all the bones in her body had fallen apart, and she was in so much pain that she could not even get up. Qin Yuan straightened his sleeves, his face expressionless. If you did not look like her, I would have taken your life with that kick. Lin Ruobai clutched her chest and glared at Qin Yuan hatefully. If looks could kill, Qin Yuan would have been killed by her 1,000,000 times already. Lady Ruobai. The Holy Maiden tribe members quickly ran to Lin Ruobai's side and helped her up. Their faces were full of heartache. Lin Ruobai was the Holy Maiden tribe's successor and the only descendant left behind by the tribe leader. What would they do if she was injured by that kick? Lin Ruobai didn't say anything. His little body was trembling in anger, and his expression was very ugly. Old Master Yun clenched his fists tightly. Hong Wuan had died for them, and these people before him were also in danger because of the Yun family. How could he remain indifferent? Enough! He roared as his bloodshot eyes turned towards the cultivators in the sky. The person you want to deal with is my granddaughter. As Fenger's grandfather, I should bear all the dangers for her. I just hope that you can spare these innocent people. The man snorted coldly. If Yun Luofeng doesn't appear, everyone here today will die. Of course, you will be the first. After saying this, the man raised his hand and a sharp gust of wind crashed down. Before Master Yun could react, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Fresh blood seeped out from his lapel and dyed his entire robe red. Father. Yun Xingya and Ning Xian's expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly ran to old Master Yun's side and fed him a stock of spirit medicine. The old man's breathing was very weak, but at least he managed to stabilize himself. However, his face was extremely pale under the morning sun, and his lips were trembling slightly. Chapter 2049. These people were too powerful. They were so powerful that they couldn't resist them. Old Man Yun clenched his fists tightly. He felt very powerless in his heart. Qingya, help me up. Old Man Yun seemed to have made a decision. He used Yun Qingya's strength to stand up from the ground. His footsteps were a little unsteady, and he looked like an old bell. So what if your Qin family is strong? If you kill me now, my granddaughter will avenge us one day, haha. At that time, not only the Qin family, but the entire spirit god continent will suffer. Old Man Yun gritted his teeth as he said these words. His old eyes shone with a bright light. Yes. He had already made up his mind to die. All these years, it had not been easy for Yun Luofeng to grow to his current realm. As her grandfather, he had never helped her before. She had walked so hard, and since he could not help her, why should he drag her down? Even if he died, he would not let the Qin family use him to threaten his granddaughter. You want to force me to kill you? Qin Yuan clearly knew the old man's intentions. He sneered, why are you in such a hurry? In any case, you will all die sooner or later. After saying this, Qin Yuan slowly raised his hand and gave the order, "All of you, attack. However, don't kill them for now. It's fine to cripple them. I want to see how long that Yun Luofeng can last." "Yes, young master." After saying this, the people behind Qin Yuan swooped down. The entire Holy Maiden tribe was in a chaotic battle. Of course, the situation was one-sided. Even the weakest member of the Qin family was at the divine spirit realm. How could the ordinary people of the 7 continents be a match for them? Therefore, the Holy Maiden tribe could only hear the wails of those whales roar. At this moment, a dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry sounded out from the sky. Everyone looked up and saw the dragon and phoenix clans coming to help. The leaders of the dragon and phoenix clans were the 2 young men who had appeared on the day of the wedding. They waved their hands, and the followers behind them joined the battle. Qin Yuan smiled disapprovingly. This was just an ordinary dragon race, not the ancient dragon race of the spirit god continent. Could these spirit beasts fight against the experts of the Qin family? That was simply daydreaming. Therefore, Qin Yuan didn't think much of this group of dragons and phoenixes. Just as he was about to withdraw his gaze, he suddenly realized that there was a group of humans standing on these dragons and phoenixes. Qin Yuan was taken aback. Before he could come back to his senses, one of the handsome young men swung his sword. The Qin family's godly spirit, who had been incomparably ferocious a moment ago, was suddenly struck by the sword light. His flesh split open and he fell from the sky. Everyone who was fighting in the sacred maiden tribe was dumbfounded. They looked at the group of strangers who had come to help. "Qi Ling, let's have a competition. Are the experts of our drifting wind nation stronger, or are the experts of your Tianqi nation killing more people?" The handsome young man smiled faintly, turned his head to look at the person riding on the dragon's back and said provocatively. The man on the dragon's back laughed out loud. "That's a good idea. Let's compete to see who's the strongest. The strongest one will be Miss Yun's right-hand man. The other one won't have any meaning. Alright, then let's start the competition now." The young man's smile was a little immature, but his aura was very strong. Especially when he was riding on the phoenix's back, he looked very confident. Chapter 2050. Miss Yun. The others were slightly stunned when they heard the name. Could it be that the Miss Yun they were talking about was Yun Luofeng? Yun Luofeng had so many experts with him. Judging from their abilities, they seemed to be above the deity level. Qin Yuan's expression changed slightly. His eyes darkened as he coldly looked at the group of people who were fighting with the Qin clan's experts. Long Shi, Jun Lintian regained his senses and looked at the young man leading the dragon clan and asked, "These people are..." "Oh, I met them on the Fengyun continent." Next, Long Shi told him about their encounter. Not long ago, he and Feng Qi happened to be guests in the western continent and happened to hear the Qin clan's message. He immediately decided to look for Yun Luofeng and Yun Shao with Feng Qi. Who knew they would hear about Yun Luofeng's actions on the Fengyun continent not long after they arrived at the Fengyun continent and found out that she had left. Therefore, he was trying to find a way to leave the Fengyun continent to meet up with Yun Luofeng and the others. Who knew he would meet Yun Yi, who went to look for Qi Su and the others? Yun Yi was Yun Luofeng's puppet. It was impossible for Long Shi not to know him. Therefore, he decided to travel with them. They left the Fengyun continent together. Coincidentally, they met the Dragon and Phoenix clans who came to the eastern continent to help as soon as they left the Fengyun continent. The Dragon and Phoenix clans were in the isolated Beast continent after all. It was already very late when they heard the Qin clan's message to the continent. However, the elders of the 2 clans were Yun Zhao's people and immediately ordered their elites to come. However, as soon as they arrived at the eastern continent, they learned that Yun Luofeng had returned and even announced the news to the experts on Saint Mountain. Therefore, it led to Qi Su and the others being with the Dragon and Phoenix clans. Qin Yuan's face turned cold when he saw the Qin clan gradually falling into a disadvantageous position. His aura suddenly surged out. He was an ultimate god after all. How could he let the Qin clan lose face here? However, Qi Su only smiled disdainfully when he saw Qin Yuan's expression. "Do you think the Qin clan is the only one with ultimate gods?" Aren't you underestimating the Fengyun continent's forces? As soon as Chi Su finished speaking, the ultimate gods from the Fengyun continent also unleashed their powers without holding back, causing Qin Yuan's expression to change drastically. Divine Lord? There are other ultimate gods besides our spirit god continent? That's impossible. Where are you from? Perhaps Chi Su felt that Qin Yuan's expression was not shocking enough, so he laughed coldly, frog at the bottom of a well. A divine venerable is enough to scare you? I haven't even brought out the divine monarchs here. Divine Lord? Qin Yuan's body trembled. Even in the spirit god continent, the number of divine lords could be counted with one's fingers. In the huge Qin clan, there was only one. There was a divine lord by Yun Luofeng's side. Boom! Just as Qin Yuan was filled with disbelief, a body fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. The man was tall and sturdy. His face was expressionless and cold. His aura was like a surging river, never ending. At this moment, the expression on Qin Yuan's face could only be described as horrified. Divine Lord. There was really a divine lord by Yun Luofeng's side? Why wasn't this mentioned in the information he had gathered? Chapter 2051. The others didn't know what a Sir God represented, but for Qin Yuan to have such an expression, it was obvious that the Sir God was stronger than him. Yun-yi, you. Old Master Yun rubbed his chest and took a deep breath. He actually asked in a gentle tone, when did you break through to the God Monarch stage? As soon as he said this, Old Master Yun suddenly realized that Yun-yi was just a puppet. How could it speak? But what happened next shocked Old Master Yun so much that his heart almost stopped beating. I'm not too sure about the specifics. I only know that I broke through after eating a few bolts of lightning. Yun-yi scratched his head and changed his cold expression. But the taste of the lightning wasn't bad. I really want a few more. Old Master Yun's mouth twitched. Sobbing sounds could also be heard from the surrounding people. Yun-yi was a puppet, but he had his own thoughts. What did that mean? It meant that Yun Luofeng could create a human. But he broke through after eating a few bolts of lightning? He wanted a few more. What did that mean? Did he think that the lightning belonged to him? Go! Qin Yuan gritted his teeth and ordered. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, a loud explosion suddenly came from not too far away. Then, the lightning appeared. Yun-yi's eyes immediately lit up when he saw the bolt of lightning. He let out a low roar and quickly flew towards the lightning. His eyes looked as if he had just seen a delicacy and couldn't resist the temptation. Indeed, to Yun-yi, wasn't the lightning his delicacy? It could provide nutrition to his body. However, Yun-yi's power was already at the level of a Sir God. He would be a real god after that. Unfortunately, real god wasn't easy to break through. Hence, no matter how many bolts of lightning he ate, he couldn't become a real god. But, in addition to breaking through, the heavenly thunder could also shape his body, making his body stronger. This was also a rare benefit. Qin Yuan's legs turned to jelly and his body trembled. Sir God, another Sir God. Oh my God. What kind of monsters were around Yun Luofeng? Even their Qin clan, after so many years of heritage, only had one Sir God. Qin Yuan didn't care about the Qin family anymore. He took advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on the sky lightning to turn and run away. Seeing that Qin Yuan was about to escape, Chi Su immediately shouted, "Stop him!" In an instant, all the ultimate gods moved and flew toward Qin Yuan. However, just as they were about to reach Qin Yuan's back, he disappeared into thin air. That's right, he had indeed disappeared. Furthermore, no one knew how he had disappeared. That guy escaped. Qi Ling was a little annoyed. If he could keep this guy, he might have a chance to go to the divine continent. Qi Su pursed his lips and did not speak. His eyes were filled with anger and his handsome face became serious. This. Lin Ruobai blinked. May I ask, what does a divine sovereign represent? She had only heard that person from the Qin family say that Yun-yi was a divine lord, and now, her master's mother had also broken through to become a divine lord. However, she did not know what a divine lord was to them. Chi Su glanced at Lin Ruobai and said patiently, "Above deities are divine gods and above divine gods are ultimate gods. That guy just now is an ultimate god. As for a divine lord, it's below a true god but above an ultimate god." Chapter 2052. In this world, no true gods have been born yet. Therefore, a divine emperor is the most powerful existence. Qi Ling continued. Gasp. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Yun Yi had become so powerful. Even Bai Ling had broken through to become a divine emperor. Didn't Miss Yun tell you? Chi Su was a little surprised. Both Yun Yi and Little Worm have reached the level of Sir God. Although young Master Yun Shao is also a Sir God, to be honest, even if Yun Yi and the other Sir Gods join forces, they might not be his match. It can be said that young Master Yun Shao is already an invincible existence. Oh, there's also Miss Yun. Although Miss Yun is only an ultimate god now, her strength is comparable to a divine emperor. She defeated a divine emperor last time. Although Lang Xinyue was plotted against by Yun Shao, everyone present could see that Lang Xinyue was not Yun Luofeng's match. Therefore, it was not a problem to say that her strength was comparable to a divine emperor. Old Master Yun was a little dizzy. He had wanted to sacrifice himself and let Yun Luofeng escape. Who knew that his granddaughter's strength was comparable to the continent's strongest? The surprise came so fast that he could not react. Just when everyone was in shock, Yun Luofeng and Yun Shao had arrived together. Bai Ling stood beside Yun Luofeng. The smile in her eyes disappeared when she saw the scene in front of her. Yun Luofeng saw the blood on old Master Yun's body at a glance and his face darkened. What happened? Grandpa, why are you hurt? After saying that, she looked at the Qin family's experts. Qin Yuan had escaped, but the others were left behind. Therefore, they naturally received Yun Luofeng's anger. You guys hurt them? The corners of her mouth curled into a cold smile, and the killing intent on her body gradually leaked out. The Qin family smiled bitterly. They were brought here by Qin Yuan. In the end, Qin Yuan ran away and left all of them behind. This time, they would not just die without a corpse. Perhaps, they would not even die in peace. Azure wings. Yun Luofeng calmly ordered Yun Yi, who was following behind him. First, cut their bones into pieces. After they die, hang their corpses outside the city gate of East Continent. Let them face the East Continent Master Mansion and use their whole lives to repent for Hong Luan's death. These people had not only injured old Master Yun and the others, but more importantly, the Qin clan had also killed Hong Luan. From that moment on, she swore that she would use their souls to pay tribute to her. When the Qin clan members heard this, their expressions changed drastically. It was fine if they were to die, but in the end, they had to be humiliated by her after death. This was something that no one was willing to endure. Seeing those people's panicked expressions, the cold smile on Yun Luofeng's face deepened. You dared to kill my friend and invade the Yun family. You must pay the price for this. At that very moment, Yun Yi had already walked in front of them. Facing a Sir God expert like Yun Yi, everyone in Qin family had no ability to resist. After Yun Luofeng returned, the various factions of the continent had sent spies to the Holy Maiden Mountain, wanting to know his every move. Therefore, the news that the Qin clan had sent experts to kill their way into the Holy Maiden Mountain did not escape the eyes and ears of the various factions. When they heard this news, there was only one reaction in the hearts of the various factions, and that was that this time, Yun Luofeng was definitely going to die. Chapter 2053. But soon, another piece of news came. It was said that the masters of the Qin family who broke into the Holy Maiden tribe had been buried on the mountain of the Holy Maiden tribe. Yun Luofeng even tied the bodies of the Qin family to the gate of the East Continent city as a public display. This news scared everyone. No matter how they thought about it, they didn't think that it would end like this. The Lord of the South Continent was even more shocked. It must be known that when the East Continent sent people over, they were kicked out by him. It was to not get involved in this mess, and also to tell the masters of the Qin family that he had nothing to do with them. In his impression, Yun Luofeng could not fight the Qin family. But what was the situation now? The masters of the Qin family were all dead? Yun Luofeng still had such strong masters in her hands? Lord. The old man who had given the idea to the Lord of the South Continent was also shocked by this news. He said softly, "What should we do now? What else can we do? If it weren't for your idea, I would not have offended Yun Luofeng." The Lord of the South Continent's face was very ugly. He suddenly gritted his teeth and said, "Immediately send someone to the Holy Maiden tribe, and take our family treasure to apologize." Yes, Lord. Now, this was the only way to ease the relationship between the two sides. In addition to the Lord of the South Continent, other forces obviously thought of this, and immediately sent people to the Holy Maiden tribe to ask for an audience. However, when they arrived at the Holy Maiden tribe, Yun Luofeng and the others had already returned to the Jun family. So, they could only come up empty. But no one was discouraged, and rushed from the Holy Maiden tribe to the Jun family. At this moment, outside the Jun family's gate, there was a hubbub of voices. Everyone was poking their heads out, but no one dared to force their way into the Jun family's residence. The Jun family guard was like a door god, standing in front of everyone like a mountain, looking cold and serious. Miss Yun has said that no one will see anyone who asks to see her. In the face of the Jun family's unreasonable guards, no one dared to forcefully resist. In a weak voice, they said, "We have brought expensive gifts to see Miss Yun, to apologize for our previous mistakes. Could you please make an exception and let us in?" Apologize? The Jun family guard sneered. Where were these people when the Jun family needed help? Now that Yun Luofeng had returned and killed the experts of the Qin clan to set an example, in the end, these people appeared again? You want to reap benefits without facing danger? How could there be such a good thing in this world? What kind of status does our Miss Yun have? Why would she care about your gifts? Get out of my way. Everyone's expressions stiffened. Indeed, with Yun Luofeng's status, she might not be able to take a fancy to the congratulatory gifts they had sent. However, these congratulatory gifts were already the most valuable things she could take out, everyone. A man stepped forward slowly and cupped his fists. "I'm from the South Continent. Our continent master has ordered me to present the South Continent's heirloom. Furthermore, I'm willing to have the South Continent listen to Miss Yun from now on." The South Continent's continent lord was smart for once. If he wanted to resolve Yun Luofeng's grudge, perhaps there was only one way. That was to be her slave for the rest of her life. Unfortunately, she thought too highly of herself. Yun Luofeng even had divine lords under him. How could he possibly care about a tiny South Continent? Sure enough, after hearing this, the Jun family guard smiled coldly. "Who do you think you are from the South Continent? Didn't you run faster than anyone back then? When the East Continent went to the South Continent for help, didn't you still beat them out? Now you still want to be Miss Yun's slave? Dream on." Chapter 2054. The man's face was ashen. He had never been humiliated like this before. Especially when the other party was just a guard. But who asked this guard to be a member of the Jun family? And the Jun family was under Yun Luofeng's protection? No matter how dissatisfied he was, he could only endure it. "You really can't," whoosh. Just as the man's voice was about to fade away, a cold and handsome figure swept in from the door. Yin Yi's strong muscles reflected dazzling light in the sun. He stood straight at the door, and a pair of indifferent eyes swept over the group of people in front of him. "Whoever dares to stay here will be killed without mercy." As soon as the words, "killed without mercy," were uttered, Yin Yi's aura spread out. His face was full of murderous intent. Just a glance from his murderous eyes was enough to make people tremble in fear, as if their hearts were being squeezed, making it hard for them to breathe. "Get lost." As soon as this word was uttered, the group of people did not dare to stay. Like birds scattering, they quickly disappeared. It was as if they were afraid that if they left even a second later, they would be killed by this terrifying man. Yuni turned to look at the Jun family guards and ordered expressionlessly, "My master is resting, no one is allowed to disturb him." If these people come here to disturb my master again, don't let any of them go. The Jun family guards were aware of Yun Yi's strength, so of course they did not dare to disobey his orders. More importantly, they had long been unhappy with those fence-sitters. If it wasn't for the fact that the Jun family's authority forbade them from wantonly hurting people, they would have already done it. But now that they had Yun Yi, things were different. The eyes of the Jun family guards lit up at this thought. Jun family. On top of a rockery, Yun Luofeng's body leaned lazily against Yun Zhao's chest. Her eyes were half closed as she looked at the sun in the sky. Yun Zhao, I've been fighting all these years. Moments of peace like this are rare. Her hand gently stroked her abdomen, the corners of her lips curling up slightly. Moments of peace like this were too rare. Perhaps, only after he had completely dealt with his enemies would he be able to completely relax. I'll accompany you. Whether it's in battle or in seclusion, I'll always be by your side. I'll never abandon you in this life. And our child. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile. Yun Zhao frowned, it's fine as long as I accompany you. He didn't want his son to disturb their time together. What about him? In the future, we can have another daughter to accompany him, or let him find a wife. In any case, it was fine as long as he didn't pester his Feng. Yun Luofeng's eyebrows twitched. If this unborn child knew of this matter, he would definitely cry. Before he was even born, he was already despised by his father. Of course, Yun Zhao didn't really despise this child. It was just that when children grew up, they would definitely have their own lives. At that time, he only hoped that he could be together with Yun Luofeng. He didn't want this child to pester Feng, all day, master. Just then, Fire's excited voice sounded out from within his soul, Master, Master, the dragon saliva tree has produced fruit. The dragon saliva tree was the congratulatory gift that Qin Yuqing had given her. This dragon saliva tree was special and required the urine of the ancestral dragon to grow. Fortunately, after being watered by the little worm, the ambergris tree finally bore fruit. Chapter 2055. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng's face flashed with joy. What's the matter? Yun Zhao asked when she saw the joy on her face. The dragon saliva tree has grown fruit. Yun Zhao, let's go to the divine grimoire space now. In the divine grimoire space, apart from Hong Wuan's corpse, only Fire and the little worm were looking at the dragon saliva fruit. Cha-Cha could not stay any longer and had already gone out to play with the small tree. The rat clan was not in the divine grimoire space either. As for Xiao Mo, he went on a date with Lin Ruobai, so he threw the task of guarding the dragon saliva tree to Fire and went on his own. As soon as Yun Luofeng entered the divine grimoire space, he found a towering tree. On the tree, there were vermilion fruits that looked delicate and alluring. Master, Bai Xiao appeared behind Yun Luofeng and looked at the dragon saliva tree with eyes full of hope. Can you give me a dragon saliva fruit to eat? If I eat this dragon saliva fruit, maybe I can appear in human form like the small tree. Yun Luofeng looked at Bai Xiao and nodded slightly. He plucked a dragon saliva fruit from the tree and threw it to Bai Xiao. Eat this dragon saliva fruit and tell me what effect it has. Bai Xiao's face was full of joy, but her eyes were full of disbelief. She had only mentioned it and did not expect Yun Luofeng to really give her the dragon saliva fruit. This was a divine item that people fought for thousands of years ago. Bai Xiao hurriedly swallowed the dragon saliva fruit. When the dragon saliva fruit entered her body, a storm of advancement appeared on her body. As the tree of life, its only use was to produce fruit of life for people to consume. Moreover, it was invincible inside the tree of life's body. However, that was not the case. To the outside world, Bai Xiao did not have much power and her strength was not very strong. It could be said that she was the weakest among Yun Luofeng's subordinates. However, after eating the dragon saliva fruit, her strength rose rapidly and only stopped when she reached the ultimate god realm. Yun Luofeng was stunned. A dragon saliva fruit actually had such power? It could help Bai Xiao break through to the ultimate god realm in an instant? Master, I think I roughly know the function of this dragon saliva fruit. Bai Xiao's eyes were filled with joy. After a long while, she calmed down and looked at Yun Luofeng. The power of the dragon saliva fruit is to stimulate one's potential without limit, but the consequence is that one will not be able to cultivate for the rest of their lives. In other words, even if Bai Xiao reached the ultimate god realm after consuming the dragon saliva fruit, she would not be able to break through in this lifetime. Even so, the effect of the dragon saliva fruit was still very strong. He was able to stimulate a person's unlimited potential. In other words, the highest level that Bai Xiao could break through in her life was the ultimate god realm. Even without the dragon saliva fruit, she could only reach the ultimate god level. Therefore, the dragon saliva fruit did not bring much harm to spiritualists, only benefits. Oh, that's right, Bai Xiao seemed to have thought of something and added, this dragon saliva fruit also has a limit. No matter how strong your potential is, you can only reach Sir God at most. It's impossible to break through to real God with the help of the dragon saliva fruit. Originally, Yun Luofeng had planned to let Yun Xiao consume it. With Yun Zhao's talent, it was only a matter of time before she became a true god. However, Bai Zhao's words were like a basin of cold water, calming Yun Luofeng's heart. Fire, think about it. Do you want to consume this dragon saliva fruit? Chapter 2056. I want to take it. Fire did not hesitate. It's not that easy to become a true god. I don't want to become a true god either. So, I'm willing to take the ambergris fruit. All right. Yun Luofeng passed the fruit in his hand to Fire, then you can eat it now. Fire nodded his head without hesitation. He took the soul fruit and consumed it. Her talent was impressive, so with the help of the ambergris fruit, she and Bai Xiao also broke through to the ultimate god realm. Yun Xiao, help me plant all the ambergris fruit on the tree. I'll improve the overall strength of the Yun family and the Jun family now. Unfortunately, Jun Fengling and Yi Jingshan were not there, otherwise, with their talent, they might be able to break through to the Divine Lord realm. After leaving the Divine Grimoire space, Yun Luofeng asked Fire to inform everyone to wait for him in the hall. After giving the instructions, she and Yun Xiao slowly walked towards the direction of the main hall. At that moment, the hall was bustling with activity. Jun Lindian and Old Master Yun were talking about something, but their faces were full of emotion. Suddenly, the entire hall quietened down when they saw a handsome man and beautiful woman walking towards them. Little Yun, Xiao, you're here. Jun Lindian smiled and spoke with a gentle look in his eyes. However, you've called us here in such a hurry. What do you want to discuss? Yun Luofeng shrugged and smiled at Yun Luo. Grandpa, I've recently cultivated a seed. I plan to let you eat it. A seed cultivated by his precious granddaughter? Old Master Yun's eyes immediately lit up. To him, anything his granddaughter produced would never be bad. Therefore, when Yun Luofeng stretched out his hands, Old Master Yun was like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey. Without asking about the use of the fruit, he picked it up and took a bite. The fruit was full of fragrance and flowed between his teeth. Old Master Yun smacked his lips and swallowed the rest of the fruit without hesitation. He looked very satisfied. This fruit tastes good. How many more do you have? Give me a few more. Unexpectedly, as soon as Old Master Yun finished speaking, there was a loud bang and a storm emerged from his body, scaring everyone. This storm had been going on for a very long time. Even after reaching the high-level Saint Monarch realm, it didn't stop. In the end, he broke through to the Divine Spirit realm in one go. Yes, Old Man Yun had become a deity. This revelation stunned Old Master Yun. He still didn't know what had happened. He looked at Yun Luofeng in a daze. The others could no longer sit still and stood up one after another. Jun Lindian was so excited that he couldn't even speak properly. Is this a god? Old Master Yun had become a deity? That's right, this is the power of the gods. Gods? What was going on? Old Master Yun's potential wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad either. Although Old Master Yun's strength was low previously, that was because he was born in the most backward place in the Roaring Dragon continent. In addition, he was now old and unable to cultivate as he wished. If he had been born in a place like the Wind and Cloud continent, then the final level he could reach would be the divine soul. It was because the roaring dragon continent was too backward that his potential could not be stimulated. This is the dragon breath fruit. Its effect is to stimulate a person's potential. The level you can break through to depends on your own potential. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. However, the consequence is that after consuming the dragon breath fruit, you won't be able to break through for the rest of your life. Therefore, it's up to you whether you want to consume it or not. Chapter 2057. When everyone heard this, they were stunned. Yun Luofeng meant they also had a chance to obtain the dragon saliva fruit. Compared to the excitement of the others, Yun Xingye had been frowning the entire time. Perhaps it was because of the recent changes that had made his heart even more determined. Fenger, if you use the dragon saliva fruit to break through, will your combat strength be slightly weaker? Yun Xingye was afraid that Yun Luofeng did not understand what she meant, so she continued to explain. For example, if the old man uses the dragon saliva fruit to break through to the divine spirit realm, will he be the weakest among the divine spirits because he used an external force to break through? If that was the case, he might as well break through himself. However, Yun Luofeng's next words dispelled his worries. Second uncle, you can rest assured. Using the dragon saliva fruit to break through is no different from a normal breakthrough. The only drawback is that your body's potential has been stimulated. No matter how much you cultivate in the future, you won't be able to break through again. These words made Yun Xingye feel at ease. A faint smile appeared on his handsome face. I want the dragon saliva fruit. In fact, Yun Luofeng could more or less guess everyone's choice. Right now, they needed strength. Only with enough strength could they prevent the tragedy from happening again. Although Yun Xingye's talent was very strong, so what if it was strong? It wasn't that he wasn't willing to work hard, but the spiritual energy of the 7 continents was unable to help them break through to the divine spirit realm. Facing a colossus like the Qin family, they had no way of resisting. With the dragon saliva fruit, things would be different. Even if Yun Luofeng wasn't by their side, they could still protect this pure land. Thus, after Yun Xingye's words fell, the others also expressed their opinions. Cousin. Yun Ruoshue's eyes were very bright, and her gaze was filled with hope. I also want to eat this dragon saliva fruit. I wonder if it's possible. Just as Yun Luofeng was about to agree to Yun Ruoshue, Bai Zhao's voice sounded in his mind. Master, Yun Ruoshue is too young to withstand the power of the dragon saliva fruit. She can only eat it after she reaches adulthood. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's gaze softened. He raised his hand and gently stroked Yun Ruoshue's head. Shue, the power of the dragon saliva fruit is too strong, and you're still too young. However, I will leave one dragon saliva fruit for you to consume once you've matured. Yun Ruoshue's eyes were a little disappointed, but after hearing Yun Luofeng's last sentence, they lit up again. Alright, Shue, is very obedient. Wait until Shue, reaches adulthood before eating the dragon saliva fruit. After comforting Yun Ruoshue, Yun Luofeng distributed the dragon saliva fruits to everyone present. Except for Bai Ling. Bai Ling had already become a god lord, so the dragon saliva fruit was useless to her. Even if she had the potential to become a true god, the dragon saliva fruit would not allow her to break through. Mu Dong was a little stunned. He looked at the ambergris fruit in front of him and blinked. I have a share too. You are Grandpa Jun's friend, and at a crucial moment, you chose to stand on our side. I, Yun Luofeng, will never mistreat those who choose me. There was a smile on the woman's face. Her voice was forceful, but it caused Mu Dong's heart to tremble. In fact, when they went to the sacred maiden tribe that day, they did not help at all. At most, they made preparations to confront the Qin family. But, if they only acted this way because they knew Yun Luofeng's strength, then it was possible that they were trying to curry favor with Yun Luofeng. Chapter 2058. However, they did not know anything before this, did they? They didn't know Yun Luofeng's abilities, but they still came without hesitation when facing a colossus like the Qin family. Even if he wasn't able to help out in any way, Yun Luofeng still remembered this kind of friendship. Mu Dong no longer cared about them. He took the ambergris fruit from Yun Luofeng's hand and kept her kindness in his heart. Thus, at that moment, the sky above the Jun family was filled with continuous lightning strikes. The lightning lasted for 3 days and 3 nights before disappearing. Those who came to the Jun family to see Yun Luofeng had not left yet. They naturally saw the grand scene and decided to go back and tell their masters not to provoke anyone around Yun Luofeng from now on. Those people left in a hurry with that in mind. As they left, the news of what happened in the Jun family spread throughout the continent. The entire 7 continents were shaken because of it. Lightning? What kind of existence was that? Only the breakthrough of a divine spirit expert would attract lightning? However, there was not only one bolt of lightning in the Jun family. There were dozens of them. How could everyone not be shocked by this news? The people in the Jun family, of course, did not care about the voices outside. Yun Luofeng was afraid that the lightning would come too fast and the azure wings would not be able to block it in time. That would cause unnecessary casualties to those who were breaking through. That was why he asked them to break through in stages. That resulted in the lightning not stopping for 3 days and 3 nights. However, the effect of the increase in strength this time was significant. Most people had reached the heavenly god realm while Old Master Jun, Mu Dong, Ning Xian, and the others had reached the ultimate god realm. What surprised Yun Luofeng was that Yun Xingya was indeed worthy of being the number 1 person in Long Yuan Kingdom. Her talent surpassed everyone else and reached the divine lord level in one go. With Yun Xingya and Bai Ling's protection in the 7 continents, the tragedy of the past would not happen again. Old Master Yun was unhappy. His face darkened as he said indignantly, "Why did all of you break through to the heavenly god realm and even the ultimate god realm? Even my son has become a divine lord, but I'm only a divine spirit. Could it be that his talent was really that bad?" "No." Old man Yun glared at Yun Luofeng. "Give me another dragon saliva fruit." Yun Luofeng rolled his eyes. "Even if I gave you another one, you wouldn't be able to continue breaking through." Hearing this, Old Master Yun glared at her. "Can't I eat it as a snack?" The ambergris fruit was a divine object, but Old Master Yun said that he wanted to eat it as a snack. In this world, he was probably the only one who could say such words. "If you aren't afraid of harming your body, I won't stop you." Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders and said with a faint smile. Old man Yun's voice became quiet, and he glared at Yun Luofeng resentfully. "I was only joking with you. You can't be serious, right? Instead of the ambergris fruit, when are you going to have a baby for me to play with? Give birth to a child, for him to play with?" The corner of Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched a few times. After a while, he calmed himself down and said, "Did my mother not tell you that I'm pregnant?" Old Master Yun, whose face was filled with resentment, was immediately dumbfounded when he heard this. What? Did he hear wrongly? His precious granddaughter was pregnant? Jun Lintian and the others hurriedly stood up as well. Their breathing quickened as they could not hide the excitement in their hearts. Chapter 2059. Mother, haven't you told them yet? Yun Luofeng looked at Bai Ling in astonishment and asked. I thought you said it. Bai Ling was also speechless. Even now, they still hadn't told him about Fenger's pregnancy. Old Master Yun's expression was very sad. Such important news, yet they were all hiding it from him? Second uncle, I'll have to trouble you with something. Yun Luofeng didn't dare to look at Old Master Yun's sad gaze and hurriedly changed the topic. Go to the continent of no return and bring the people of the Yi family over. In addition, bring all of them back from the forest of no return. If the Qin family knew that they couldn't do anything to the Yun family, they might take a step back and find trouble with the Yi family. And she had to wipe out all possibilities in the bud. All right. Yun Xingya nodded. In addition, send someone to find my parents, Yi Shima, Yi Qi, and the others, and protect them. In this situation, it's very dangerous for them to be outside. The parents she was talking about were Yi Jingchen and Jun Fengling. Right now, she was most worried about them. I understand. I will take care of this matter. Yun Xingya smiled faintly. Now that he had strength, even his words had become much more confident. Mother, Yun Luofeng turned to Bai Ling and continued, I'll get second uncle to find someone. As for the mission of protecting the old man and the others, I'll leave it to you. With you here, even if I leave this place, I'll be at ease. Bai Ling was slightly taken aback. You're leaving? Yun Luofeng nodded his head lightly in the face of Bai Ling's reluctant gaze. The Qin family's actions are not only because I killed Qin Luo. There must be other reasons that we do not know. Therefore, Yun Shao and I will make a trip to the spirit god continent. We cannot be in a situation where the enemy is in the dark while we are in the light. For some reason, she had a feeling that the Qin family's operation this time was definitely related to the people who had chased after Zhu Qian. Therefore, she had to make a trip to the spirit god continent. Bai Ling thought about how not only was Yun Shao by her side, but she also had the protection of 2 divine lords by her side. Don't worry. With me here, no one will be able to take a step into the Jun family. Yun Luofeng did not say anything else. She took out another 5 dragon saliva fruits and handed them to Bai Ling. These 5 dragon saliva fruits are for old Master Yi, Yi Qi, Yi Shima, and my parents. Mom, please give them to them for me. After everything had been delegated, Yun Luofeng and Yun Shao looked at each other before walking out of the courtyard. Feng, when are we leaving? Tomorrow. Yun Luofeng was silent for a while. She had only cared about increasing the strength of her family and had forgotten about the Steel Flame Legion. The members of the Steel Flame Corps had accompanied her since she was young. Their relationship was irreplaceable, therefore, when Yun Luofeng returned to her courtyard, she summoned the Steel Flame Legion and the Rat Tribe. Even Cha-Cha, Little Mo, and the rest were called back. Master, why did you call us back so urgently? Milk Tea and the others had been staying in the illusory array, so they didn't know what had happened. As for Little Mo, Yun Luofeng had already used soul transmission to explain to him. Chapter 2060. I still have 30 dragon saliva fruits left. Other than my 5 masters at West Spirit Academy, I still need to leave 3 for the people of East Continent Prefecture. So, there are 22 left. Although the 5 masters at West Spirit Academy did not teach her anything, they had always treated her as a disciple. She could not forget this kind of friendship. As for the East Continent Prefecture, no matter what the elders were thinking, at least, Hong Wan had lost her life for the Yun family. Just based on this fact alone, no matter what danger the East Continent Prefecture faced in the future, she would protect them with her life. Not to mention 3 dragon saliva fruits. Master, how do you plan to distribute these 22 dragon saliva fruits? Little Mo blinked innocently and asked. Little Mo, you, Lil White, TT, and Small Tree will each get 1 ambergris fruit. In the Rat Clan, Mouse Queen, Milk Tea, and Meng Meng will each get 1 ambergris fruit. As for the Steel Flame Legion, Qin Yan, Yi Ling, Zhong Linger, and Long Fei, the 4 of you will come forward to get the ambergris fruit. This way, there are 11 left. Qin Yan will distribute them according to talent. Whoever performs the best over the years will receive a dragon saliva fruit. No one knew what the effects of the dragon saliva fruit were, but everything Yun Luofeng took out was precious. Therefore, their eyes were filled with anticipation as they looked at her without blinking. Those who did not get the dragon saliva fruit, do not be depressed. There will be opportunities in the future. When the dragon saliva fruit tree bears fruit for the 2nd time, I will leave this opportunity to you. After the dragon saliva fruit bore fruit once, it bore fruit a 2nd time very quickly. Of course, that was with the little worm's urine. Yes, Mississippi, Qin Yan beamed with joy. Her eyes were curved, extremely bright, and extremely cute. For more than a decade, she still could not change the way she addressed Yun Luofeng, Mississippi. But in these dozen years, Yun Luofeng had changed her. She was originally just a servant in the general's residence, often bullied. But because of her loyalty, she changed her life. Thinking of the past, Qin Yan sighed. The past was like smoke, making her feel like she was in a dream. It was so unreal. After getting the dragon saliva fruit, you guys go to the side to break through. Yuni, get ready. Don't let anyone get hurt. The power of the heavenly thunder was not to be underestimated. Many people were unable to persevere during the breakthrough and were turned into ashes. Therefore, at this time, they needed the azure wings to help them resist the heavenly thunder. Only then could they successfully advance. Everyone was stunned by Yun Luofeng's words. Could eating this dragon saliva fruit cause injury? Due to their trust in their master, they swallowed the dragon saliva fruit without hesitation. Only at that moment did they understand what Yun Luofeng's words meant. The heavenly lightning appeared once again, and the sound of thunder boomed as it ruthlessly struck down. Even the house was destroyed by the heavenly lightning. Fortunately, he had the azure wings, which allowed him to resist the heavenly thunder by himself. His tall and sturdy body looked especially bright under the heavenly thunder. Of course, Yun Luofeng did not let them break through at the same time. Otherwise, there would be too much lightning, and Yun Yi would definitely be careless. When the heavenly lightning disappeared, those who had broken through were dumbfounded. Perhaps they didn't understand what was going on. Chapter 2061. Undeniably, the group of people under Yun Luofeng had become extremely powerful after being watered with elixirs for many years. Therefore, everyone had reached the ultimate god realm. If they were in the Fengyun continent, they would be experts in charge of a region. Yun Luofeng handed the last 11 fruits to Qing Yan. Qing Yan, choose 11 people to eat the dragon saliva fruit. We'll leave this place after you've broken through. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily after finishing his sentence with a tired look on his face. Yun Xiao, let's go back and rest. After Yun Xiao heard this, she carried Yun Luofeng by the waist and walked into the room. She would leave the rest to Qing Yan. She was very confident in Qing Yan, cousin. Just as Yun Luofeng entered the room, Xiao Ruoshui's little head popped out from behind the door. Her eyes darted around, and when she saw Yun Luofeng's gaze, a brilliant smile appeared on her young and tender face. Shui, what's the matter? Yun Luofeng looked at little Ruoshui's childish face and asked gently. Cousin, it's brother Wu Yan who wants to see you, so I brought him here. Wu Yan? Yun Luofeng's eyes showed a touch of doubt as if he did not know who little Ruoshui was talking about. Cousin, have you forgotten? When we were in the Wuhui continent, Sister Yi Jun and I went to the medicine tower to look for you. In the end, we were abducted and sold. Of those children who were also abducted and sold, only a small portion of them returned to their own families. Most of them stayed in our Yun family. As for brother Wu Yan, he was the one who asked you to help him remove the seal on his body. Yun Luofeng had some impression after hearing little Ruoshui's words. That day when they went to save little Ruoshui, there was a young man among the crowd. Not only did the young man reveal her identity, he also knew everything about the Wuhui continent like the back of his hand. Unfortunately, his body was sealed, so he couldn't use his abilities. Later on, the young man asked Yun Luofeng to remove the restriction. Although Yun Luofeng accepted, she did not have the ability to remove the restriction on Wu Yan at that time. Therefore, she arranged for Wu Yan to stay by little Ruoshui's side. Let him in. Yun Luofeng nodded in silence and said. Little Ruoshui's smile was extremely bright. She turned her head and said to the young man behind her, Brother Wu Yan, my cousin asked you to come in. Don't worry, she's a good person. You don't have to be afraid of her. Yun Luofeng's eyebrows twitched after hearing little Ruoshui's words. What kind of image did she have in the people's eyes? Why did Shui think the young man was afraid of her? After a while, a young man dressed in green walked in from outside. Compared to a few years ago, the immaturity on his face had faded a lot, and he looked more mature with each passing day. Miss Wu Luofeng, said with a speechless eyes shone with a bright light. His eyes were filled with anticipation, but also with some fear, afraid that Yun Luofeng would go back on his word. Luo Yun of sect. Yun, I Yun, I Luo, he, a Luo. Yun Luofeng Chen Yun. Luo Yun, Luo of Luo Yun, King, Luofeng Yun, he Luofeng, he, I Wu Yun Luo Yun, I. Chapter 2062. Wu Yan immediately knelt on one knee and said respectfully, "In the future, Wu Yan will protect eldest miss with my life." With Yun Luofeng's words, he even addressed her as eldest miss instead of Miss Yun. His youthful and handsome face was filled with joy. "Before I help you remove the seal, I have one more thing to ask you. Where are you from? Why are you in the Wuhui continent?" Wu Yan stood up from the ground, his eyes filled with complexity. "I'm from the spirit god continent. As for why I'm in the Wuhui continent, I was persecuted." Indeed, actually, when he had first met Wu Yan, Yun Luofeng had not seen anyone from the spirit god continent and did not know of its existence. Therefore, at that time, Yun Luofeng could not detect Wu Yan's true identity. But just now, when Wu Yan had entered the room, she had sensed that Wu Yan's aura was somewhat similar to Qin Luo and the Qin family members. "Yun Xiao, looks like we'll need to delay for a few days before we leave." Yun Luofeng raised his brows and looked at the man beside him. He smiled faintly. "I need to remove the seal on Wu Yan first." Yun Zhao's eyes were very gentle. A woman's figure was shrouded in his pitch-black eyes. The corners of his lips curled into a slight smile. "I'll wait for you. Wait for you to venture into the spirit god continent with me, Shu-ei, you go out first." Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Ruoshui's reluctant expression and narrowed his eyes slightly. He scrutinized the youth standing in front of him. The youth's figure was as straight as a bamboo tree, standing there proudly. "Oh." Yun Ruoshui pursed her soft pink lips, looked at Wu Yan one last time, then turned and walked out. She even closed the door for Yun Luofeng. "Wu Yan." Yun Luofeng crossed his arms and looked at the youth's proud figure with a faint smile. "Tell me honestly, what's your relationship with Shu-ei, Wu Yan was stunned. Perhaps he had not expected Yun Luofeng to ask such a question. After a moment of silence, he replied, "Shu-ei, is still a child. I've always treated her like a younger sister." Although this was his answer, Yun Luofeng could see a flash of hesitation in Wu Yan's eyes. "Is that so?" She smiled and said, "You're not much older than Shu-ei, Do you really treat her like a younger sister?" Speechless, he lowered his head in silence. To be honest, he wasn't very sure either. He only knew that the feeling of being with Yun Ruoshui was very comfortable. "I don't care how you and Shu-ei, develop in the future. I hope that you remember one thing." Yun Luofeng slowly stepped forward, approaching the youth by 2 steps. "The daughter of my Yun family is not so easy to marry. If you want to marry her, you must have the power to protect her, so that she will not be harmed for the rest of her life." Yun Luofeng's request to himself was not to stand behind Yun Xiao, but to fight alongside her. However, the reason why she worked so hard was to protect her family from harm. If Shu-ei would be harmed after being handed over to Wu Yan, she might as well keep Shu-ei by her side to protect her for the rest of her life. "I will protect Shu-ei, Wu Yan's expression suddenly turned serious as he said solemnly. "I don't care what kind of background you have or where you come from. If you want to marry the daughter of the Yun family, you must be a couple for the rest of your life. You must never take a concubine. Otherwise, I will strangle Shu-ei's feelings for you while they are still in a hazy stage." Chapter 2063. Yun Ruoshui was her second uncle's daughter and also her family. Even though she had not been with Shu-ei, for so many years, she had already taken her under her wing. How could she allow anyone to hurt her? "If Shu-ei, and I really fall in love in the future, I'll fight for it." Wu Yan thought of his own family and paused for a moment before continuing Yun Luofeng's words. "What if you can't fight for it?" Yun Luofeng squinted his eyes and continued asking. "If I can't fight for it, I'll come to the Yun family and become their son-in-law." Speechless sounded firm when he said that. If those people really opposed it or forced him to take a concubine, he would rather leave everything behind and accompany her to the ends of the earth. "All right, I hope you'll keep your word." "If you go back on your word," Yun Xiao, who was beside Yun Luofeng, released his aura as soon as he finished his sentence. Under that powerful aura, Wu Yan's face was a little pale and his body was swaying. However, he still stood firmly on the spot with his eyes blazing. "This is just my request. You should know that Shu-ei, is the only daughter of my second uncle and second aunt. If you want to marry her in the future, you'll have to get my second uncle and second aunt's approval. Yun Luofeng stretched his body lazily. However, these are all matters for the future. I'll remove the restrictive spell for you now. All right. Wu Yan's eyes lit up. Indeed, the matter between him and Shu Ei should be considered in the future. Although he had a good impression of Shu Ei, it was just a good impression. No one knew what would happen in the future, right? Therefore, the most important thing now was to remove the restrictive spell in his body. The restrictive spell in Wu Yan's body was a little troublesome. The person who said it must be very powerful. If it was the previous Yun Luofeng, he would not be able to remove the restrictive spell for him. However, the current Yun Luofeng had already broken through to the ultimate god realm. The restrictive spell was not a problem for her. Even so, Yun Luofeng spent a whole day and night to remove the restrictive spell. The next day, early morning. Speechless, he walked out of Yun Luofeng's room. He could feel the refreshing spiritual energy of the world, and his body felt so comfortable. A brilliant smile bloomed on his face. I don't know when I'll be able to return after leaving with First Mistress. Yun Ruoshui's young and adorable face surfaced in his mind, and the corners of his lips curled up. So now, I'll go and bid farewell to Shu Ei. Yun Ruoshui's location was very easy to find. From afar, Wu Yan saw little Ruoshui sitting by the stream, looking bored. Little Ruoshui's arms were propped up on the ground, and her little feet were placed in the ice-cold water of the stream. Fallen flowers fell from the trees beside her, and scattered onto little Ruoshui's delicate face. Shu Ei, Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded from behind Yun Ruoshui, causing her to stand up in shock. She looked at the youth in front of her, somewhat bewildered. The young man frowned. The weather is still very cold. What are you going to do if you catch a cold? Little Ruoshui was like a child who had made a mistake. She said pitifully, Brother Wu Yan, I was wrong. Not sure if it was because of Yun Luofeng's words, the young man looked at the pitiful and adorable little girl in front of him and suddenly had the urge to kiss her hard. The young man was shocked by his own thoughts and hurriedly shook his head awkwardly, afraid that he would really do something worse than an animal. Chapter 2064. Shu Ei, I'm here to say goodbye to you. I'll be leaving with your cousin in a while. Little Ruoshui bit her lip, her bright eyes misty. Brother Wu Yan, when will you be back? I'll be back as soon as possible. Wu Yan reached out and rubbed little Ruoshui's head. His eyes were filled with gentleness. You have to wait for me here. Little Ruoshui smiled. Her smile was very bright, like a bright sun that illuminated the hearts of people. Brother Wu Yan, you have to come back quickly. Shu Ei, will be waiting for you at home. Looking at this little girl, Wu Yan felt a little reluctant to part with her. But he knew that no matter how reluctant he was, he had to leave her. Moreover, he wanted to make himself stronger. Only when he was strong enough could she rely on him. Wu Yan suppressed the reluctance in his heart and turned to walk in the opposite direction. He did not look back at Yun Ruoshui, afraid that if he did, he would not be able to bear to leave. As Wu Yan and Yun Ruoshui bid farewell, Yun Luofeng had also bid farewell to the Yun family. Under their reluctant gazes, he walked out of the Jun family's main door. After stepping out of the main door, Yun Luofeng looked back at the Jun family, then at the group of relatives following behind him. He sighed softly and turned to Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao, let's go to the East Continent first. All right. After saying this, Yun Xiao raised his hand and grabbed Yun Luofeng's waist. With a leap, their figures quickly disappeared under the sky, in the East Continent Prefecture. Ever since Hong Wuan's death, the entire East Continent Prefecture had been shrouded in a layer of sadness. Even the residents were affected by this atmosphere, becoming much more gloomy. Even the streets were not as lively as before. At this moment, Yun Luofeng stood outside the East Continent Prefecture. She raised her head and looked at the white silk that had yet to be removed. A trace of guilt flashed in her eyes. If I had come back a day earlier, perhaps Hong Wuan would not have died. Unfortunately, she had still come to the banquet. You don't have to blame yourself. Yun Xiao pulled Yun Luofeng into her arms. She's dead, but it's not impossible to resurrect her. Instead of blaming yourself, why don't we think of a way to save her together? Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. You're right. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, I will not give up. Hong Wuan cannot exist in this world. At this thought, Yun Luofeng strode into the East Continent mansion. When the people of the East Continent Prefecture saw Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, they were stunned for a moment before they hurriedly went to inform Hong Ling. Not long after, Hong Ling slowly walked over from the courtyard in front of them. The elders of the East Continent Prefecture also came with him. In the beginning, these elders were against Hong Wuan saving the Yun family. They were afraid that this would lead to the destruction of the Yun family. They didn't expect that Yun Luofeng would have such a strong cultivator in his hands. Moreover, he was an expert who had destroyed the Qin family. Furthermore, some time ago, the heavenly lightning above the Jun family's residence hadn't dissipated for several days and nights. It had shaken the entire continent. So, it was impossible for them not to know about it. Thus, all the elders felt extremely fortunate at this moment. If Hong Wuan hadn't insisted, they would have offended Yun Luofeng just like the South Continent. How could Hong Ling not know what these elders were thinking? They couldn't help but sneer. They hadn't forgotten how these elders had opposed Hong Wuan when she had wanted to protect the Jun family. Now, after seeing Yun Luofeng's strength, they all wanted to curry favor with him. In fact, apart from him, was there no one else in the East Island Prefecture who mourned Luan Er's death? Chapter 2065. Hong Ling did not even look at the elders. She turned towards Yun Luofeng and asked, Miss Yun, is there something important that brought you here? Yun Luofeng nodded gently. With a flip of her hand, a vermilion fruit appeared in her palm. This is... Hong Ling was stunned and asked in confusion. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as he looked at her confused face. You must have heard about the heavenly lightning that struck the Jun family recently. Astonishment flashed across Hong Ling's eyes. She looked at Yun Luofeng's smiling face in shock. Do you mean that those people broke through to become deities because of this fruit? It was impossible for him not to know about what had happened in the Jun family. Now that he heard Yun Luofeng's words, he immediately thought of the fruit in the woman's hand. His heart immediately trembled violently. The elders' eyes were fixed on the dragon saliva fruit. Their expressions were filled with desire. Some of them could not help but gulp, wishing that they could just pounce on the fruit and snatch it away. That's right. They were able to break through because of this dragon saliva fruit. I left 3 for all of you. I've brought them to you this time. Hong Ling fell silent. The effects of the dragon saliva fruit were indeed tempting. However, compared to the fruit, he wanted to revive his daughter more. Miss Yun, can you tell me if you had a way to save Luan Er's body when you took it away? His eyes were filled with hope and entreaty, as well as the deep expectations of a father. Yun Luofeng raised his head and stared at Hong Ling's pleading eyes. In the end, he could not help but sigh. It's not that I don't have a way to save her, but I'm not very confident. Hong Ling's eyes lit up. Regardless of how confident Yun Luofeng was, his words had undoubtedly given him a great deal of hope. Thank you. Hong Ling's voice was a little choked with emotion. She took the dragon saliva fruit from Yun Luofeng's hand and said, I only need 1 dragon saliva fruit. You can take the rest back. It's better for you to leave such a precious item for the people around you. Although Yun Luofeng had only planned to give the East Continent Prefecture 3 dragon saliva fruits, they would still have 2 more after the prefecture lord took one. But now, the prefecture lord had given away such a precious item. At the thought of this, the elders looked at Hong Ling with grief and indignation. Hong Ling could feel the resentment in the elders' hearts, but she ignored them and pushed Yun Luofeng's hand back. Miss Yun, I'm really grateful to you. Even if you only have a sliver of hope, it's the same as giving me a reason to live on. Hong Ling gently closed her eyes. In the period of time that Hong Wuan had passed away, this man, who was originally full of vigor, had actually aged a few decades. Even his straight back had gradually bent down. Once upon a time, Hong Ling had sworn to protect the East Continent for his entire life. For the sake of the Eastern Continent, he had lost the woman he loved, and even his most beloved daughter was forced to marry the son of the Northern Continent. If not for Yun Luofeng's appearance, perhaps he really would have made an irreversible mistake. However, he came to a sudden realization after Hong Luan left. What about the East Continent? What about the people? What about power? It wasn't as important as his family. If Hong Luan could return to his side, he would be willing to exchange the entire East Continent for her. Chapter 2066. You don't have to thank me. Yun Luofeng glanced at the pale-faced middle-aged man and spoke slowly. Hong Luan died to save my family. Everything I do for her is what I should do. In the future, if the East Continent is in any danger, you can always seek help from the Jun family. Hong Luan died to save my family. My family will do everything in their power to protect all of you. Hong Ling probably didn't know that it was because of Hong Luan's sacrifice that the Eastern Continent was able to escape the calamity that was to come because of the Yun family's protection. Since Hong Ling did not need the other 2 dragon saliva fruits, Yun Luofeng did not force her. He kept the 2 fruits and bid farewell to Hong Ling before leaving with Yun Shao. Hong Ling stood silently at the door and watched Yun Luofeng and the others leave. She did not return to her senses for a long time. Palace Lord, why did you reject the other 2 fruits? An elder asked angrily. The opportunity to increase their strength was right in front of them, but Hong Ling had rejected it. How could they not feel resentful? That's right, Palace Lord. Don't you know how much our East Continent Prefecture needs to increase our strength? How could you reject such a good opportunity? You should know that this is a fruit that can create a divine being. When that time comes, our East Continent Prefecture will have 2 more divine beings. Won't you be basking in their glory? Another elder's face was full of resentment. If the other party was not the East Continent Prefecture's Palace Lord, he would have started cursing and swearing. He had seen foolish people, but he had never seen anyone this foolish. Hong Ling retracted her gaze and swept her sharp gaze across the faces of the elders in front of her. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. Don't forget how many times you've tried to get Luan, to chase the Yun family away while they've been in the East Continent Prefecture. If the Yun family had really been chased away, do you think Yun Luofeng would have given us this opportunity? The elder was immediately silenced. After a long while, he said unhappily, but the Yun family was not chased away in the end. Eldest Miss even lost her life for the Yun family. Those fruits are what we deserve. Hong Ling's eyes gradually turned cold. First, Luan sacrificed herself of her own accord. She didn't ask for anything in return. I, Hong Ling, am not someone who would extort favors from others. Secondly, Luan and the Yun family are still in our East Continent Prefecture. That's because Luan is a god. You can't force her out of the East Continent Prefecture. If Luan was still the Luan from a few years ago, would you have allowed the Yun family to stay? All the elders fell silent. What the Palace Lord said was the truth. They did not chase away the Yun family precisely because the eldest miss was too powerful. They did not dare to do such a thing. However, if the first miss wasn't lucky enough to become a deity, the Yun family wouldn't be able to stay in the East Continent Prefecture. If that's the case, what right do you have to ask for the dragon saliva fruit? Hong Luan held the dragon saliva fruit in her hand as she sneered at the greedy faces of these people. When he saw that those people were looking at his hand, the coldness in his eyes deepened. What? You want to join forces to snatch my ambergris fruit? Aren't you afraid of the Jun family's revenge? After all, this dragon saliva fruit was given to me by Miss Yun. In other words, if they stole his dragon saliva fruit and the Jun family found out, they would definitely not let them off. As expected, the mouths of the elders twitched when they heard Hong Ling's words. None of them had the guts to snatch the fruit from Hong Ling's hand. Besides. Chapter 2067. Hong Ling was their palace lord. They would not have the guts to act so rashly. Palace Lord, you've misunderstood us. Why would we steal your dragon saliva fruit? The reason why I said that was to make our East Continent Prefecture more powerful. It was not for my own selfish reasons. I hope Palace Lord can understand. For the East Continent Prefecture? Hong Ling's heart turned even colder. Her cold eyes swept across the shameless faces once again before she walked into the courtyard of the East Continent Prefecture. At this moment, the group of elders were filled with regret. If they had not opposed the eldest miss so strongly in the beginning, perhaps the Palace Lord would not have been so heartless. In reality, this group of elders had misunderstood Hong Ling. Hong Ling had a problem with them, not because of their strong opposition. After all, their opposition could be taken as consideration for the East Continent Prefecture. But after Hong Wan's death, the group of elders did not mourn her death. Instead, they were thinking about how to curry favor with Yun Luofeng. It's not wrong for you to want to curry favor with Yun Luofeng. The problem is, you've treated the Yun family that way. If you continue to behave in such a manner, wouldn't it give others the feeling that you're acting according to the wind? Hong Ling had not chased them out of the East Continent Prefecture. That was already good enough for them. How could she help them raise their powers? Yun Luofeng was naturally unaware of the events that had transpired in the East Continent Prefecture. After she had left the East Continent, she immediately headed towards West Spirit Academy with Yun Xiao. Wu Yan silently followed behind them. In West Spirit Academy, Su Wu was lecturing a disciple in the Elder's Court. When he caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng walking in, his eyes immediately lit up. Cough cough, Shuang coughed softly and said to the young man who had just been scolded, Wu Fang, you can leave first. Yes, Elder Shuang. The young man named Wu Fang heaved a sigh of relief and walked out of the Elder's Court. Vaguely, he could hear Elder Emptiness's laughter behind him. Little Yun, why are you here? Wu Fang paused in his steps. His eyes carried a trace of doubt. He knew his master's character very well. When had he ever laughed so carefreely? What was the background of this girl whom he had addressed as Little Yun? What? Shuang glared at the emptiness. Can't Feng, come back to see us old people? No, that's not what I meant. Our precious disciple came too suddenly. It's a pleasant surprise. Emptiness touched his nose and explained weakly. Wu Fang, who had already left the Elders' Council, suddenly stopped in his tracks when he heard this. Yun lass? Feng or a disciple of a few elders? Could it be, this was the peerless genius that shook the world, Yun Luofeng? Wu Fang's heart started beating rapidly. He couldn't contain his excitement at all. Heavens, so that genius was really a disciple of their academy, and he had even met her face to face. He really wanted to ask for an autograph. What was he supposed to do? However, when he thought of his master's savage personality, Wu Fang did not have the guts to step into the Elders' Council again. Little Yun, you are more considerate. Emptiness suddenly sighed. Unlike my new disciple. At that time, I felt that his talent wasn't bad. Although he couldn't compare to you, who knew that this kid loved to cause trouble. Chapter 2068. Shuang covered her mouth and laughed. It seems that Feng also caused quite a bit of trouble when he was around, but I've never seen you reprimand him. Shuwu rolled his eyes, his expression full of pride. Of course, even when the Yun girl caused trouble, she was still so outstanding. How could I bear to reprimand her? The corner of Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched. He glanced at Yun Xiao next to him, as if asking if she was really that easy to cause trouble. Yun Xiao had always been an honest and good child, so under Yun Luofeng's murderous gaze, she still nodded. But he added in the end, you can cause as much trouble as you want, I will support you. Even if you poke a hole in the sky, I will use my shoulder to prop up the sky for you. Yun Xiao didn't say words of love, but when she did, it was amazing. Even these old guys who had lived for nearly 100 years couldn't help but look at the man in front of them with a look of admiration. And Yun Luofeng also put away the murderous look in his eyes when he said this. It's been so many years, but you two are still so lovey-dovey. Have you ever considered the feelings of us single dogs? There was a touch of awkwardness on Shuwu's face. He put his fist to his mouth and coughed. But Yun girl, you have always been very busy. You never come to me without a reason. Tell me, what did you come to us for this time? Yun Luofeng raised his lips. Do you know what happened to the Jun family some time ago? What happened? It's because of the heavenly thunder. The heavenly thunder first lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and it only stopped for a short while before it started again. So, it was impossible for these elders not to have heard of such a major incident in the Jun family. Shui Ying's eyes flashed. Feng, so many people in the Jun family have broken through to the divine spirit. Was it you who did it? That's right. Yun Luofeng chuckled and took the 5 dragon saliva fruits. These are dragon saliva fruits. You can also break through after you eat them, but not to the divine spirit, but above the divine spirit. As for what realm you can break through to, it depends on your own potential. What? Not the divine spirit? Above the divine spirit? The few elders were scared silly, and they all looked at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. These 5 dragon saliva fruits are for you. I still have 2 more here. If you see Ji Jiutian and Hu Li, please pass them on to them. Yun Luofeng saw that these old men were all stunned in place, so he put the dragon saliva fruit on the table and took out 2 more. When all the dragon saliva fruits were laid out on the table, the old men finally came to their senses and immediately pounced on the dragon saliva fruits. From time to time, there were even sounds of quarreling. Fuck, what are you guys fighting for? Everyone has a share. Don't take mine away. Emptiness, you damned old man. You like to fight with me for everything. Let me tell you, my potential is stronger than yours. Wait until I break through to a higher level than you. Just wait and see how I teach you a lesson. We still don't know who's stronger or weaker. Don't be too full of yourself. After Yun Luofeng put down the dragon saliva fruits, he turned and left, so he did not pay attention to the quarreling voices behind him. When they got the dragon saliva fruits, they realized that Yun Luofeng and his group had already gone far away. They probably did not expect that snatching this girl as a disciple back then would lead to such a generous reward in the future. Chapter 2069. She's already gone. Shuang sighed softly and smiled bitterly. In this life, we owe her too much. To be honest, the few of them had not done much for Yun Luofeng. They had only chosen to stand by her side when she was in trouble. But because of this choice, Yun Luofeng had to repay them in such a way. Perhaps, accepting her as a disciple was the best thing I've done in my life. Outside West Spirit Academy, Yun Luofeng stopped and turned to look at the youth behind him. Since you're from the Spirit God continent, do you have a way to enter the Spirit God continent? The speechless youth nodded. Only the people of the Spirit God continent know the way to enter the Spirit God continent. Moreover, you must have a token from the Spirit God continent to pass. Outsiders cannot enter the Spirit God continent. It's good that you have a way. Then let's set off for the Spirit God continent now. Spirit God continent. Qin family. In the peach forest at the back of the mountain, a woman sat on a stone, letting the fine peach blossoms fall on her shoulders. Her fine black hair fell behind her, blending into the peach blossoms in the forest. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from behind her. She did not even lift her eyelids, as if she did not notice the people behind her. Fei, The man's voice was filled with infinite affection as it sounded from behind her. What's the matter? Mu Qingfei's voice was tired. She did not even turn her head. Fei, guess who I met when I left the Spirit God continent? Qin Yuan was not angry. He slowly walked from behind Mu Qingfei to stand in front of her. At this moment, he had changed from the fierceness and arrogance that he had when he killed his way into the Sacred Maiden clan. Instead, he was like a handsome young master. I saw a little girl. Her name is Lin Ruobai. She looks very similar to you. She is also the young clan leader of the Sacred Maiden clan. A light flashed in Qin Yuan's eyes as he slowly said. Sure enough, when she heard this, Mu Qingfei's cold and distant face finally changed. She stood up with a swoosh, her eyes filled with nervousness. You saw my daughter? Fei, you've been too lonely here all these years. How about I help you bring her here? Qin Yuan's voice was full of tenderness. As long as you can smile, I don't care if she was born by you or another man. As long as you have me in your life, that's enough. After the initial excitement, Mu Qingfei calmed down again. You restricted my freedom and now you want to take away my daughter's freedom? I won't let you have your way. Fei, why are you so stubborn? For you, I've withstood so much pressure and haven't taken a wife or a concubine for many years. Why are you unwilling to accept me? Qin Yuan took 2 steps closer to Mu Qingfei. His tone didn't have any anger but helplessness. Why don't you tell me what I have to do for you to accept me? Mu Qingfei gradually closed her eyes. In this life, there was only one man in her life. In that case, how could she accept anyone else? Fei, do you know what your daughter is going through right now? A sinister look flashed in Qin Yuan's eyes, but it was fleeting. He said in a gentle tone, your daughter was deceived and willingly became that person's slave. Even the entire Sacred Maiden clan is now aware of her. So, in this case, how can you not want to bring your daughter here? Chapter 2070. Mu Qingfei's body stiffened and her clenched fists trembled slightly. Fei, you must believe that no matter what I do, it's all for your own good. For my own good? If you want to help me, then let me go. Mu Qingfei suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were like torches and her gaze was sharp. Except for this condition, I will agree to anything else. Qin Yuan furrowed his brows. Think about it carefully. If you're willing, I'll immediately bring your daughter here and let you two reunite. I still have to report the situation to my father. I'll come find you later. He finally looked at Mu Qingfei and turned to walk down the mountain. Mu Qingfei looked coldly in the direction of Qin Yuan's departure, and her eyes were filled with hatred. If it wasn't for the Qin family, she wouldn't have been separated from her family. It was the Qin family that separated her family and trapped her here for so many years. She only had hatred for the Qin family and the man in front of her. As long as she was given a chance, she would overthrow the entire Qin family. They would never be able to rise again. In the main hall of the Qin family, an old man sat upright. He looked at the man who was walking towards him under the sunlight, and his eyes gradually darkened. You went to the back mountain again? Qin Yuan was taken aback. Father, The old man snorted coldly, his face expressionless. Because of a woman, you became like this. Not only did he run to the back of the mountain when he had nothing to do, he had not taken a single concubine in all these years. How can you face the Qin family? Father, after meeting Fei, your son no longer wants to love another woman. Qin Yuan smiled bitterly. Back then, he was also a young genius of the spirit god continent. Many women dreamed of marrying him. Who knew that after he met Mu Qingfei, he could no longer fall in love with anyone else? If you like her, why don't you just force yourself to marry her? The old man's expression became increasingly unhappy. Is it worth it for you to become like this? No. Qin Yuan shook his head. I don't want to force her. I want her to marry me willingly. Father, I can listen to you for the rest of my life, but for her, I want to fight for it myself. The old man was so angry that his face turned red. He angrily pointed at him and wanted to curse, but for a moment, he couldn't say anything. After a long time, he took a deep breath and said, Tell me, I asked you to bring that woman back. Why are you the only one who came back? Where are the rest of the Qin family? Qin Yuan's face darkened slightly at the mention of this matter. There was obvious humiliation on his face, as if he could not bear to talk about it. Apart from me, everyone else is dead. What? The old man stood up in shock, his hands trembling incessantly. Impossible, it's just a small abandoned land, how could there be such a powerhouse? You think you can wipe out the entire Qin clan? Yuan, tell me everything that happened in full detail. Then, Qin Yuan told the old man everything that had happened when he went to the Sacred Maiden tribe. Of course, Lin Ruobai wasn't aware of what was going on. Otherwise, if his father knew of Lin Ruobai's existence, it would be even more impossible for him to marry Fei, The old man's legs trembled as he listened to Qin Yuan's story. He sat down on a chair and grabbed the handle of the chair tightly. There's a divine lord in that abandoned land? I've really underestimated this woman. Chapter 2071. Divine Lord. Even in the spirit god continent, there were only a handful of them. Father, what should we do next? Qin Yuan asked with a frown. Immediately send out a message and inform all the divine lords in the spirit god continent to deal with Yun Luofeng. No matter how strong the people around her are, they can't resist so many divine lords. The old man quickly calmed down and ordered without batting an eyelid. What's the reason? The spirit god continent was one entity. If an expert was born in that forsaken land, the other divine lords couldn't just sit back and watch. But the problem was that as long as Yun Luofeng didn't kill anyone in the spirit god continent, that group of people wouldn't meddle. The old man frowned and pondered. Tell that group of people that Yun Luofeng already knows of the existence of the spirit god continent and even provoked them. When the Qin family learned of this, we went to talk to her. Who knew that she would attack and kill the experts of the Qin family? She even claims that she wants to be the ruler of the spirit god continent. Those divine lords are also greedy for life and afraid of death. Yun Luofeng's talent isn't bad, and she has 2 divine lord experts in her hands. She will definitely make many people fear her. As such, we can only strangle her while she is still budding. The old man's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he sneered. He didn't believe that he couldn't deal with that woman. Father, should we send a message to the ancestral dragon clan? The ancestral dragon clan was extremely powerful in the spirit god continent. However, something seemed to have happened to the ancestral dragon clan many years ago. As a result, all the dragons of the ancestral dragon clan had gone into seclusion and hadn't appeared on the continent for many years. All right. The old man pondered for a moment and said, as long as you tell the ancestral dragon clan that I know about the eldest lady of the ancestral dragon clan, they will immediately come to help. Qin Yuan looked at the old man in surprise. He was very smart and didn't ask anything. After responding, he left. While the Qin family was busy dealing with Yun Luofeng had come uninvited and stood on the land of the spirit god continent. The spirit energy in the spirit god continent is indeed very rich. It's even worse than the wind cloud continent. No wonder the wind cloud continent can't produce a divine lord. Just as Yun Luofeng finished speaking, the little bug that had been staying in the divine grimoire space all this time became restless. Yun Luofeng had no choice but to let it out. In an instant, Little Worm's body was enveloped by a burst of light. When the light dissipated, an extremely beautiful little boy appeared by her side. Little bug, you can transform into a human? Yun Luofeng was surprised. Having known the little worm for so long, this was the first time she had seen him in human form. Little Worm rolled his eyes. Because she looked very cute, even if she rolled her eyes, she still looked very cute. I'm just too lazy to appear in human form. Also, this spirit god continent is my homeland. Can you change my name? What if the other clansmen heard this? Where would I put my face? Yun Luofeng acted as if he had not heard Little Worm's words and turned to look at Yun Shao. Where are we going next? Just as Yun Shao was about to reply, he suddenly felt a strong murderous intent. This murderous intent caused his eyes to turn extremely vigilant. He instantly pulled Yun Luofeng into his arms. Be careful. Chapter 2072. Just as he finished speaking, a pain dragon's roar rang out from the void. The dragon's roar sounded like it was weeping blood, filled with grief, anger, and pain. For some reason, this dragon's roar caused Little Worm's body to tremble. It tugged at Yun Luofeng's sleeve tightly and said, Master, save her, please save her. In the azure blue sky, a few powerful cultivators were surrounding a giant white crystal dragon. The steel tridents in their hands were pierced fiercely into its body. Fresh blood seeped out from the thick dragon scales and rained down from the sky like bean-sized raindrops. Roar! The giant dragon let out a furious roar of grief and the entire world shook. The sky seemed to be responding to its pain. The initially azure blue sky was instantly filled with lightning and thunder as lightning tore through the void. Back then, it had suffered such heavy injuries, but it still managed to escape. Let's quickly capture it now. If the other dragons of the ancestral dragon clan find out about this, we'll definitely be punished. TSK, this dragon's skin is really thick. It's still alive even after all that. Furthermore, it still had the chance to escape after being forced to cough up over 10 drops of essence blood over the past 3 months. A dragon's essence blood was extremely precious. If 1 drop was lost, they would need to rest for at least a few months before they could recover. However, this group of people had forced this dragon to cough up over 10 drops of essence blood over the past few months. This was equivalent to them exhausting their lives. More importantly, the dragon coughing up essence blood was as if its bone marrow had been sucked out. One could imagine the agony. The giant crystal dragon twisted its massive body and swept its thick tail towards the group of humans. It was very powerful, and with one sweep, the group of humans stumbled back in exhaustion. Taking this opportunity, the giant dragon turned and tried to escape. However, the group of humans quickly regained their senses and chased after it again. They used the tridents in their hands to stab the giant dragon's tail fiercely. Roar! The intense pain caused the giant dragon's entire body to tremble. Fresh blood had already dyed the sky red. Its body finally could not hold on any longer and plummeted from the sky. It crashed into the forest with a loud thud and flattened the entire forest. A bean-sized tear rolled down from its eye and turned into pearls as it rolled onto the ground. Its eyes were filled with despair and indignation. Its massive body had become unable to move due to excessive exhaustion. Was he finally going to die? It turned out that even death had become an extravagant hope for it. The gigantic dragon slowly closed its eyes. Just as its eyelids were about to close, a snow-white silhouette landed in front of it. She looked like a celestial being, her white robes fluttered in the wind. Her expression was gentle, and even her voice was pleasant to the ears. Yun Xiao, deal with this group of people. I'll treat this ancestral dragon's injuries first. This was the last thing the dragon heard before it fainted. At this moment, it felt that its persistence was not wrong. As long as there is kindness in one's heart, it will be rewarded. The lightning and thunder also disappeared along with the dragon's coma, and the sky gradually became dusk. When the dragon woke up, a beautiful little boy stuck his head in front of it and said with a smile, "My kind, you're awake?" Same kind? The dragon's eyes were filled with confusion. Was he calling her? Oh right. Suddenly, the dragon seemed to remember something. Its mind shook and it hurriedly looked around. When it saw the white-robed woman sitting quietly on the tree, it relaxed. Chapter 2073. Thank you. The giant dragon's voice was not as rough as its body. Instead, it was exceptionally clear and melodious, like an aureole that could move one's heart and soul. Master, mistress, this dragon has woken up. Little Worm cried out excitedly. Very soon, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao had already reached the front of this giant dragon. The giant dragon's eyes never left Yun Luofeng. Its piercing gaze made Yun Xiao frown involuntarily. Why were those people chasing after you? Yun Luofeng swept his gaze across the giant dragon and asked lazily. The giant dragon's eyes darkened. Those people were from the human Qing family. Back then, when the eldest lady of the Qing family was in danger outside, I had stepped in to save her. She was very grateful to me and allowed me to return to the Qing family with her. She even gave me a very delicious soup to drink. After I drank the soup, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself locked in a cage. Those people forced me to spit out my essence and blood every day. I refused, so they stabbed me with swords, burned me with soldering irons and used things to scrape my dragon scales. I took advantage of the time when their guard was weak to escape. If I had not run into you, I'm afraid I would have met with misfortune. This giant dragon's body was indeed riddled with wounds. A few parts of its body were missing dragon scales, causing its bloody flesh to be exposed. Now, with new injuries on top of old ones, it looked especially wretched. Are you talking about the Qing family? Wu Yan's gaze turned cold and his breathing quickened. His emotions fluctuated greatly and Yun Luofeng turned to look at him. However, Yun Luofeng did not ask any questions. Everyone had their own secrets. If Wu Yan was unwilling to talk about it, he would not probe further. However, he could guess that the Qing family and Wu Yan were closely related. Perhaps Wu Yan was from the Qing family and the people who had heard him were also from the Qing family. This group of people has really crossed the line. Little Worm was so angry that his face turned red. He said fiercely, I think that group of people from the Qing family are not fit to be humans. They can't even compare to us spiritual beasts. At least spiritual beasts would never return kindness with enmity. The dragon blinked. My name is Long Luo. What are your names? This is my master, Yun Xiao. The one who saved you is my mistress, Yun Luofeng. Don't think that my master is a man. In reality, mistress has always been the one who calls the shots in the family. In the future, you just need to curry favor with mistress. As for me. Little Worm coughed lightly. What kind of name should he come up with to attract the attention of the female dragon? In any case, the Little Worm was definitely out of the question. However, before Little Worm could think of a domineering name, Yun Luofeng said, you can just call him Little Worm. At that moment, Little Worm's face was so black that it could drip blood. There was no need to mention the resentment in his eyes as he looked at Yun Luofeng. He wanted to woo this female dragon, so why did his master have to ruin his plans? Was he going to be a single dragon forever? Long Luo giggled. She accidentally pulled the wound on her body and gasped in pain. Recuperate here first. Once you've recovered, I will send you away, Yun Luofeng said calmly as he glanced at Hua Luo. Long Luo was stunned. She lowered her head and replied in an extremely weak voice, I'm not going back, I want to leave with you. Chapter 2074. Yun Luofeng fell silent. Seeing Yun Luofeng's expression, Long Luo thought that she did not agree to let her stay. She immediately became nervous and said carefully, I know everything. I can even be your guard. Can you let me stay? Perhaps it was Long Luo's voice that finally made Yun Luofeng move. She raised her brows slightly and looked at the giant dragon in front of her. It's not very convenient for you to follow me like this. We're here to take care of some matters. If you follow us in this form, I'm afraid you'll attract too much attention. Long Luo's eyes were bright as if they were filled with mist. When my injuries have healed, I can transform into a human. For now, I can mimic. Giant dragons were born with the ability to enlarge or shrink. Just like how Little Worm often appeared in the form of a worm, Long Luo could naturally do the same. All right. Yun Luofeng said calmly, if you can hide, I'll let you follow us. Long Luo's heart leaped with joy. Then, her body was enveloped in a layer of light. Then, under everyone's gaze, her body began to gradually shrink. In just a moment, the giant dragon just now had turned into a crystal-clear little snake in the blink of an eye. The little snake stuck out its tongue and licked Yun Luofeng's hand. Its bright, large eyes were filled with gratitude. Yun Xiao, let's go. Yun Luofeng picked up Long Luo and let her coil her body around her wrist. Then, she looked up at the man beside her with a faint smile. Mistress. Seeing that Yun Luofeng and the others were about to leave, Little Worm hurriedly chased after them, as if afraid of being left behind. After a while, the figures of the group disappeared into the forest. Only the bodies lying behind them proved that someone had been here before, the Qing family. In a luxurious and exquisite mansion, a dignified and beautiful woman sat upright. She wore a light yellow dress and looked noble and inviolable. What's wrong? You still haven't caught that dragon? The woman frowned slightly. Her tone was already extremely impatient. Eldest miss, I've already sent people to chase after Long Luo. Long Luo is heavily injured and can't have escaped far. The guard at the side said respectfully. A bunch of useless things. You can't even guard this dragon. Chen Gaoya slammed the table angrily and stood up. Her expression was furious and her eyes were filled with raging fury. I'll give you 3 days to bring Long Luo back to me. Everyone in the hall was silent. It was a long while later before a weak voice sounded from within the crowd. Eldest miss, I don't think it's a good idea for us to do this. Putting aside the fact that Long Luo is a member of the ancestral dragon clan, he has also saved your life before. We've already obtained enough essence blood. Why don't we spare his life so that he doesn't commit too many sins? The old man sighed softly. He wanted to persuade Qinggaoya, but he received a bone-chilling gaze from her. If you want to stand at the pinnacle of the continent, you must forsake friendship. It's true that it saved me, but so what? We can only blame that dragon for being too naive. Moreover, the ancestral dragon clan didn't know about it when we captured Long Luo. If we let the tiger return to the mountain, it will only attract the ancestral dragon clan's revenge, right? The people who had wanted to continue persuading Qinggaoya fell silent when they heard this. Indeed, if they allowed Long Luo to escape, what awaited them would probably be the ancestral dragon clan's maniacal revenge. Chapter 2075. Father has always only cared about Qing Wuyan's son. Even now that Qing Wuyan has gone missing, he only wants to find him. He has never considered that I'm also his daughter. Qinggaoya's expression was ice cold, and her eyes were filled with an awe-inspiring chill. Since I'm not inferior to Qing Wuyan, why can't I inherit the Qing family? Just because I'm a woman? Qinggaoya had no respect for her father, only hatred. All of this was because of Qing Wuyan's existence. Everyone was silent. Compared to Qing Wuyan's gentleness, Qinggaoya was even more heartless and ruthless. She would not give up until she achieved her goal. Young mistress. At this moment, a person hurriedly walked in from outside the door and said while panting, "The experts we sent to kill Long Luo are all dead." What? Qinggaoya stood up in shock, and her expression was exceptionally ugly. Dead? I don't think Long Luo still has that ability. Young mistress, I'm not lying. I saw the corpses of those experts with my own eyes, and they were all killed with a single blow. Under Qinggaoya's murderous gaze, the reporting guard subconsciously wiped off his cold sweat. He had not expected that the Qing family's experts would actually die. Who had such an ability? Could it be that those aristocratic families want to snatch this ancestral dragon from us? Qinggaoya frowned slightly, and a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Young mistress, I found a jade pendant at the place where they died. Please take a look, young mistress. After saying that, the guard slowly walked forward and handed the jade pendant to Qinggaoya. Qinggaoya took the jade pendant. When she saw the shining word, Qin, on the jade pendant, she gritted her teeth in hatred. How dare the Qin family snatch my prey from my hands? They're simply audacious. Qin family. Qinggaoya's heart was filled with hatred. If the Qin family members were in front of her, she would immediately kill them. Why did the Qin family snatch Long Luo? The elderly pondered for a moment and said, could it be that Long Luo has a special status in the ancestral dragon clan? I heard that the eldest daughter of the ancestral dragon clan has gone missing. That's impossible. Even though Long Luo is from the ancestral dragon clan, her status isn't that high. Qinggaoya laughed mockingly when she heard that. Otherwise, do you think I would attack Long Luo? No matter how strong the ancestral dragon is, he still has to consider the strength of humans. So, at most, they will come looking for trouble. They won't go all out for Long Luo. Of course, things wouldn't be so simple if Long Luo was the eldest young lady of the ancestral dragon clan. Besides, she wouldn't be so foolish to offend that existence. Miss, how did you know? Qinggaoya merely smiled faintly in the face of the old man's doubts. I've asked Long Luo before. A pure dragon like her wouldn't lie. She said that she's just an ordinary being in the ancestral dragon clan and not the missing young mistress. The old patient heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. Such an innocent and ignorant dragon would never lie. Therefore, her words had a lot of credibility. If that's the case, we can rest assured. Eldest young lady, should we set off for Qin City now? After all, we can't just give the ancestral dragon to those people from the Qin family. Chapter 2076. Okay. A cold light flashed across Chen Gaoya's eyes. I'm going to ask the Qin family why they had the guts to steal my prey and kill my people. If they don't give me an explanation, I won't let this go. Just as Chen Gaoya was about to settle the score with the Qin family, Yun Luofeng and the others had already appeared outside Qin City. If she remembered correctly, the people who took Lin Ruobai's mother away were the Qin family. Feng, Long Luo had thought of many questions along the way. In the end, when Yun Luofeng stepped into Qin City, she raised her large watery eyes and said with a conflicted expression, "Back then, in order to save me, you killed someone from the Qing family. The Qing family will find out sooner or later. When that time comes, it's okay, I'm prepared." Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and smiled. For a moment, Wu Yan and Little Worm looked at Yun Luofeng curiously. Only Yun Xiao remained calm. Prepared for what? Yun Luofeng smiled lightly. Do you remember that the Qin family experts sent people to the Holy Lady clan to capture Old Master and the others? At that time, I took the jade pendants off those people and threw them next to the Qing family people. I'm sure the Qing family thinks that the Qin family did it. The corner of Little Worm's mouth twitched. Treacherous. His master was always this treacherous. This was a dog-eat-dog fight between the Qing family and the Qin family. All she needed to do was sit back and reap the benefits. Make way, all of you, make way. Suddenly, an arrogant shout came from the side. At this moment, Yun Luofeng clearly felt Long Luo's body tighten around her wrist. Her anger was about to explode. But in the end, she still held it in. Watch out. Just as Yun Luofeng was muttering, Yun Zhao's voice suddenly came from beside her. Then, an arm reached out and pulled her into an embrace. Right at this moment, countless horses galloped from behind, barging and barging, as if the official road in front of the city gate was their home. In front of that group of people was a woman dressed in luxurious clothes. Her fine black hair flew behind her, making her look very elegant and moving. Yun Zhao's eyes darkened. He raised his finger slightly, and a stream of light shot out from his fingertip, hitting the horse's leg with a bang. The steed let out a tearing cry, bent its legs, and fell to the ground. At that moment, the woman placed her hand on the back of the horse and wanted to flip herself off. But before she could land, a heavy blow suddenly fell from the sky and smashed into her back. As a result, the woman's body fell heavily on the ground. She even fell face first, looking extremely battered and exhausted. Mississippi, the group of guards behind her turned pale with fright. They hurriedly dismounted from their horses and helped Chen Gaoya up. They were so nervous that they did not dare to say a word. Chen Gaoya's face turned from green to white, then from white to green. When she thought about how she had lost face in public, she gritted her teeth in hatred. Qin family, it must be the Qin family. They want to show me who's boss. Other than the Qin clan, who else would do such a thing? Unfortunately, they underestimated me, Chen Gaoya. I will definitely make the Qin family pay for this. Chen Gaoya clenched her fists tightly. She took a deep breath, raised her head and puffed out her chest as she walked into the city gates. Just as Chen Gaoya was about to walk past Yun Luofeng, Wu Yan instinctively hid behind Yun Luofeng and used the woman's back to block her own body. Chapter 2077. That was why Chen Gao did not notice Speechless' presence. Yun Xiao. How could Yun Luofeng not tell that it was Yun Xiao who had attacked? Her heart was filled with emotion, and her entire heart was surrounded by warmth. She scared you, Yun Xiao said seriously. That was why I taught her a lesson. Hearing this, the corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a playful smile. He teasingly hooked Yun Zhao's chin and gently planted a kiss on his lips. I love it when you stand up for me. No matter what the reason was, even though she had known Yun Luofeng for so many years, Yun Zhao's face still flushed suspiciously at the woman's blatant teasing. I like you too. Yun Xiao stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. Her expression was very serious. No matter when, I will always be the same. Little Worm was used to the couple's display of affection from time to time. However, Speechless had not interacted with them for long. Hence, when she saw this scene, she was instantly dumbfounded. Was this the Ghost Emperor who was rumored to be cruel and heartless? To think that he would say such sweet nothings with a straight face. Yun Luofeng coughed lightly and smiled faintly. Yun Xiao, let's go. There should be a good show to watch soon. If not for the fact that Lin Ruobai's mother was still in the Qin family's hands, she would have immediately charged into the Qin family with Yun Xiao. Now, the most important thing was to find Lin Ruobai's mother. The Qin family's great hall. Resplendent gold and jade. Qin Yuan stood respectfully in front of the Qin family's patriarch, Qin Tianlao. Father, I have done as you instructed. The people from those forces are on their way here. I believe they will be here soon. Good. Old man Qin's eyes flashed. I don't believe that we can't kill this woman if all the powerful cultivators of the Windy Continent join forces. Qin Yuan's lips curled. Whenever he recalled how he had left in such a sorry state, his heart would fill with anger and hatred. Patriarch, young master. Suddenly, the old steward quickly walked in and said respectfully, the eldest lady of the Qing family, Qin Gaoya, is here. Qin Gaoya? Qin Tianlao frowned. The Qing family's patriarch is not here? Reporting to the patriarch, only the eldest daughter of the Qing family has come. The old butler lowered his head, his voice filled with respect. Let her in first. Qin Tianlao waved his hand and ordered. After a while, Qin Gaoya was led in by the old housekeeper. As soon as she entered the hall, she asked sternly, what is the meaning of this? Snatching things from our Qing family? Hand over the dragon Luo immediately. Otherwise, our two families will be irreconcilable enemies. Qin Tianlao, who was still wondering why Qin Gaoya was here, almost died of anger when he heard what she said. I don't know what you're talking about. However, if you want to make an enemy out of the Qin family, you should first consider your own strength. At the end of the day, you're only the eldest daughter of the Qing family. Even if your father was in front of me, he wouldn't dare to speak in such a manner. Qin Tianlao's face turned cold as he said expressionlessly. Qin Gaoya's gaze gradually turned cold. Your Qin family really doesn't dare to admit to your actions. You snatched the dragon Luo and even tried to put me in my place at the city gates. Is this how the Qin family treats their guests? If you don't return the dragon Luo to me, I will tell my father and ask him to seek justice for me. Chapter 2078. Qin Tianlao almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What did she mean by putting her in her place? He had just found out that Qin Gaoya had come to Qin City. How was he going to put her in her place? Men, chase her out of here. Qin Tianlao pointed at Qin Gaoya with a trembling finger. If he allowed this woman to stay, he could not guarantee what he would do. Two guards immediately stepped forward to chase Qin Gaoya out. Seeing that the Qin family was unwilling to exchange the dragon vine, Qin Gaoya flung her sleeves and turned to leave. She did not even look at the Qin father and son. Looking in the direction that Qin Gaoya had left, Qin Tianlao took a deep breath. His breathing became unstable. This woman from the Qing family is too impudent. How dare she cause trouble for the Qin family alone? Father, Qin Yuan was silent for a moment, then said, do you really think this is that simple? What do you mean? Qin Tianlao was stunned and fell silent. I think that Qin Gaoya must have come here on the orders of the Qing family master. Perhaps the Qing family has been unhappy with the Qin family for a long time and is trying to find an excuse to attack us. Qin Yuan frowned slightly. His expression darkened as he thought of this possibility. That's right. Qin Tianlao had been so angry earlier that he did not think too much. Now that he had calmed down, he realized the problem. Qin Gaoya said that I put her in her place. When did I do such a thing? The Qing family must have found an excuse. The more Qin Tianlao thought about it, the angrier he became. He gritted his teeth. I never thought that the Qing family would be this shameless. Father, it won't be long before the patriarch of the Qing family arrives at Qin City. We must not let him enter. Otherwise, who knows what problems will arise. Qin Yuan raised his eyes. So, when the time comes, we must stop him outside. This time, Qin Tianlao did not stay silent. He nodded. All right, we'll do as you say. If he enters the city, it will definitely affect our plan. Poor master of the Qing family. When he came all the way to Qin City, he was stopped outside by the Qin family. He was so angry that he turned and left Qin City. Later on, Qin Gaoya added fuel to the fire, creating a deep conflict between the two families. In the inn, Yun Luofeng sat quietly in front of a table while Yun Shao silently accompanied him. As for Little Worm and Wu Yan, they stood in front of them. Missy, speechless, looked at Yun Luofeng. Perhaps sensing the inquisitiveness in her eyes, she said, "That woman today is actually my half-sister, Qin Gaoya." This time, he finally opened his heart and decided to tell Yun Luofeng about himself. And then? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked. Back then, my strength was sealed and I was reduced to the limitless continent because of Qin Gaoya's mother. Yun Luofeng's finger lightly tapped on the table. That's your family's business. I won't interfere with your business. If you want revenge, you can do it yourself. Right now, I only want you to do one thing. To find out the whereabouts of Lin Ruobai's mother, Mu Qingfei. Only after rescuing her can I make a move against the Qin family. Leave this to me, Little Worm said with a grin. I'm good at finding people. I'll find the person you're looking for very soon. Chapter 2079. Once he had finished speaking, the little worm's body instantly shrank until it was about the same size as Long Luo. Only then did it twist its body towards the door. Wu Yan, what are you still doing here? Yun Luofeng looked at Wu Yan, who was standing in front of him, and asked. Wu Yan was stunned. Can I really go back and take revenge? That group of people had caused him so much harm, he could not possibly forgive them. However, he was now following Yun Luofeng after all. Without Yun Luofeng's permission, he could not go back and take revenge. I'll give you 1 month's time. Yun Luofeng swept a glance at Wu Yan. Come and find me after 1 month. An indescribable feeling welled up in Wu Yan's heart. His eyes were filled with gratitude and his lips moved a few times. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. I only hope that after you and Xiao Ruoxue have fallen in love with each other, you can protect her well and not let anyone hurt her. The woman's voice was cold and evil, but it made Wu Yan's expression gradually turn serious. I, Qing Wu Yan, always do what I say and never go back on my word. All right, you may leave. Come and find me after you've taken your revenge. Yun Luofeng waved his hand and said calmly. Qing Wu Yan looked at Yun Luofeng with one last grateful look before he turned and left without another word. Very quickly, he disappeared from Yun Luofeng's line of sight. Yun Luofeng watched Qing Wu Yan's departing figure in silence, deep in thought. Suddenly, she felt the little fellow in her stomach kick her, causing her brows to twitch. What's wrong? Yun Shao saw Yun Luofeng's frown and immediately became nervous. He gripped Yun Luofeng's hand tightly, a worried look on his handsome face. It's nothing. Yun Luofeng shook his head, his palm gently caressing the little life in his stomach. This little fellow was kicking me, I'm guessing it can't wait to come out. Yun Zhao's expression immediately turned ugly. His gaze, which was as sharp as a knife, shot towards Yun Luofeng's lower abdomen as he said sternly, if you dare to kick your mother one more time, when you come out, I'll immediately throw you into the forest of no return. As expected, this threat was effective. The little fellow who had been kicking Yun Luofeng immediately stopped and waited calmly for its birth. At this moment, Yun Luofeng's stomach was already very obvious. It was round, and it made her waist a little uncomfortable. The soreness was unbearable. Feng, if you're really suffering from pregnancy, I don't want children. Yun Shao carefully hugged Yun Luofeng's body, afraid that she would hurt him if she used too much force. I only want you. Yun Luofeng rolled his eyes at him. If your son hears this, he might not recognize you as his father in the future. Yun Xiao looked straight at Yun Luofeng. To me, there is nothing more important than you. Call him selfish or heartless. In his heart, Yun Luofeng would always be number one. Even their children could only be ranked second. So, if Yun Luofeng's pregnancy really made her suffer so much, then he would rather not have anything. You don't want him, but I do. He is my son. No matter how hard it is, I will not abandon him. Yun Luofeng's expression darkened and his expression became calm. Perhaps he had been angered by Yun Xiao's words. When Yun Xiao saw the woman's angry words, a hint of panic flashed across his face. Feng, it's not that I don't love him, I just can't bear to see you suffer so much. If I can get pregnant in your place, if you want 10, I'll give you 10. Chapter 2080. In reality, Yun Luofeng wasn't angry at Yun Xiao, she was just trying to scare him. Who asked this fellow to abandon his son? But, hearing Yun Xiao's flustered explanation, Yun Luofeng couldn't help but laugh. Actually, it's not like there aren't any ways for a man to replace a woman in pregnancy. Are you sure you want to go out with a big belly? Aren't you afraid of people laughing at you? What other people think has nothing to do with me, I just want you to relax a little. Yun Xiao's black eyes carried an unprecedented seriousness. Feng, tell me now, what way can I replace you and make you suffer? I'm willing to bear everything myself. All these years, it wasn't that Yun Xiao hadn't done many things that had moved her, in fact, there were many. But at this moment, her heart was truly shaken. She never thought that Yun Xiao could do this. In order to reduce her fatigue, he actually dared to ignore what the world thought and replace her in pregnancy for 10 months? In this lifetime, who else could do this? I was just joking with you. How could there be such a way in this world? Joking? Yun Xiao's hand, which had been pressing on Yun Luofeng's shoulder, trembled slightly. Her expression was indescribable. She was definitely disappointed. But more than that, she felt heartache. Feng, if there's a next life, I'll be a woman and you'll be a man. This way, you won't have to endure the pain of being pregnant for 10 months. Yun Xiao's gaze turned from disappointment to seriousness. However, if there's any danger, I'll take care of it for you. Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and said with a smile, Yun Xiao, I don't think that the two of us will have a next life. Feng, you don't want to be with me in the next life? No, Yun Luofeng shook his head, we only have this one life. But in this life, we can live until the end of the world. How can there be a next life? You and I, we only have one life. And in this life, we'll live a long life and coexist with the world. As long as the world isn't destroyed, we'll be together. Yun Luofeng's expression softened when he saw the heartache in the man's eyes. I've survived so many trials and tribulations. Carrying a child for 10 months isn't too difficult for me. What's more, bearing a child for you is something that I'm willing to do, it's as sweet as syrup. Yun Xiao was silent for a moment before she said, previously, I looked up some books on women's childbirth. Those books wrote about the hardships of pregnancy for 10 months and the dangers faced during childbirth. More importantly, it was said that pregnant people would feel extremely depressed. Feng, you don't need to suppress it. If you're in a bad mood, you can kick me a few times. Don't stifle yourself. Yun Luofeng's face darkened. Where did you read those books? Who gave it to you? Yun Xiao felt a little guilty. Old man Jun, be good. Yun Luofeng stroked Yun Xiao's face. I'm different from others. With my medical skills, depression and childbirth will not appear. As for Grandpa Jun, I'll settle the score with him when I get back. Really? Yun Xiao was a little doubtful. It should be known that Grandpa Jun had previously said that 10 months of pregnancy was very dangerous. Otherwise, Yun Xiao wouldn't have said that she didn't want this son. When have I ever lied to you? Or are you saying that you'd rather believe him than me? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile that wasn't a smile. I believe you. Yun Xiao's heart, which had been on edge for so many days, finally settled down after hearing Yun Luofeng's words. Chapter 2081. In a secluded valley. Mu Qingfei sat calmly on a rock. Her cold and indifferent eyes flashed with hatred when she saw the man coming from behind her. What are you doing here again? Qin Yuan's eyes were still affectionate. No matter how indifferent the other party was to him, he couldn't be angry with her. I just missed you, so I came to see you. And I also want to tell you one thing. He hesitated for a while and finally said, my father has gathered many experts in the world to take action against Yun Luofeng. Your daughter has been deceived by Yun Luofeng. It's very dangerous for her to stay by his side. If you're willing, I can bring her here for you and let you two reunite. Mu Qingfei snorted coldly. What's the benefit of staying in the Qin family? Will I be locked up by you for a lifetime? What's more, I won't believe a word of your words. Qin Yuan's face changed. He couldn't help but stretch out his hand and press on Mu Qingfei's shoulder. His eyes were filled with deep pain. Why are you doing this to me? It's been more than 20 years and I still haven't warmed your heart? Is your heart really made of stone? Can't you see everything I've done for you? Qin Yuan's voice was close to a roar and his eyes turned blood red. Then, he sensed the change in Mu Qingfei's aura and his expression softened. The Qin family has many children. I've done so many things in order to obtain the sovereignty of the Qin family. I want to give you a noble status so that no one will dare to look down on you. Mu Qingfei glanced at Qin Yuan coldly. Status? Do you think I need this? I just want to stay away from the struggle and live a peaceful life with my beloved. Qin Yuan was stunned. Don't all women like power and status? He planned to conquer the world for her. Why was she still unwilling? If you really don't like this place, I can take you far away and live a peaceful life. Before this, Qin Yuan had already thought about it. If Mu Qingfei wanted to leave, then he would give up everything and accompany her. The premise was that she would allow him to follow her. If there was no Mu Qingfei in this world, then what was the use of the power that he had fought for? Qin Yuan, don't you understand what I'm saying? Mu Qingfei flicked her sleeves and stood up. Her expression was cold and expressionless. What I'm saying is to spend a lifetime with the man I love, not with you. I've never liked you from the beginning to the end. In order to obtain me, you put me under house arrest in this place. Do you think I'll do as you wish? I'm telling you. Even if I die, Mu Qingfei, I will never be your wife. Even if I die, Mu Qingfei, I will never be your wife. Qin Yuan felt as if a heavy stick had smashed down on his head, causing him to feel dizzy. His expression was extremely ugly, and he staggered slightly, as if he would collapse at any moment. I treated you with sincerity, but you ruined my sincerity. Qin Yuan was completely furious. His palm pressed Mu Qingfei's shoulder tightly as he roared, if I really wanted to force you, you would have been my wife a long time ago. Qin Yuan was completely furious. His palm pressed Mu Qingfei's shoulder tightly and roared, if I really wanted to force you, you would have been my wife. The result is that no matter how good I am to you, you won't be moved. So, why should I endure you? I'm telling you. Today, I will complete the ceremony of husband and wife with you. When he finished speaking, Qin Yuan fiercely pulled Mu Qingfei into his arms and tore her clothes. Chapter 2082. His eyes were like those of a bloodthirsty beast. They were red and wild, extremely terrifying. Get lost. Mu Qingfei's chest trembled with anger. Her beautiful face was cold as she scolded him rudely. Qin Yuan, if you dare to touch me, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. This sentence was said while Mu Qingfei was gnashing her teeth. The hatred in her eyes made Qin Yuan's hand tremble. He unconsciously let go of his hand and looked at Mu Qingfei with a pair of hurt eyes. I, Mu Qingfei, would rather die a broken jade than live in dishonor. If you force me, then you can only collect my corpse. Mu Qingfei wasn't afraid of Qin Yuan's actions. Her cold eyes were filled with coldness as she stared coldly at the man standing in front of her. Qin Yuan smiled. His smile was very bitter and filled with helplessness. I had originally thought that I would be able to let go of my feelings for you and force you to become my wife after hearing your heartless words. However, in the end, I still couldn't bear to force you. More importantly, he didn't want Mu Qingfei to leave this world. Qin Yuan gently closed his eyes. A long while later, he opened them again. His eyes were filled with a struggle. I also understand that no matter what I do, I will only receive your cold words. Since that's the case, why should we continue to be entangled in this? If you want to leave, then leave. I won't force you anymore. In this life, she was his calamity. He couldn't escape even if he was poor. If he could start over, he hoped that he would never meet this heartless woman again. This time, it was Mu Qingfei's turn to be surprised. She asked in disbelief, "You're really willing to let me go? Leave before I return." Qin Yuan closed his eyes again. His body was trembling violently, for fear that he would go back on his words. Mu Qingfei took one last look at Qin Yuan. Her face was no longer as cold as before. Instead, she relaxed. From the beginning to the end, Mu Qingfei didn't say a word to Qin Yuan. It was just that her heart didn't hate him as much as before, hee. Just as Mu Qingfei was about to leave, an old laughter suddenly came from the void. It shocked Qin Yuan and he immediately opened his eyes. In the void, an old man walked out. His steps were strong and vigorous, and he didn't look old at all. His aura was like that of a transcendent being. He stood with his hands behind his back, his white robes fluttering in the wind. He was extremely powerful. Father. Qin Yuan's expression suddenly changed. Why did his father appear at this time? Qin Tianlao's gaze swept across Qin Yuan. Yuan, you've really disappointed me. I thought you've turned over a new leaf and are no longer the spoiled brat you used to be. However, I never thought that you would want to obtain the Qin family's power for this woman. Hearing this, Qin Yuan turned pale with fright. How long has father been here? What did he hear? But that's not all. I didn't expect you to be so useless. You can't even deal with a woman and were forced to let her go. Qin Tianlao lifted his chin and looked down at Qin Yuan in a condescending manner. His voice was bone-chilling, like a cold wind blowing past. Father, there's no point for Fei, to stay in the Qin family. Why don't we just let her leave? I'm confident that she will fall in love with me. Qin Yuan's body was covered in cold sweat, and his face was pale. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Qin Tianlao. Is it really useless? Qin Tianlao slightly raised the corner of his lips. I heard that there's a little girl beside Yun Luofeng. This little girl is the daughter of Mu Qingfei. Do you think that Mu Qingfei is useless to our Qin family?